If you're not going out to a match, sit back, get a cup of tea and enjoy the banter, the opinion, the interviews and the goals as they hit the back of the net. Yep, delighted to have your company this Saturday afternoon, and right now we have a game that's already kicked off, and with a guard of honour in place, Rangers took to the field knowing they would be presented with the Championship trophy. And it hasn't quite gone according to plan, Alan Rough, 1-1.
No, it hasn't. Alloa obviously getting the first goal, but it looks as if it's one-way traffic now, with 20 odd minutes to go. Rangers doing all the pressing, and as usual, you know, we usually expect a goal late on with Rangers, and it might just happen again today.
If anything, Gordon, Rangers guilty of slack defending to gift Alloa the opening goal that silenced the crowd.
Yeah, they have been guilty of that at times of late. I mean, I know they've won, you know, the 2 trophies and got to a cup final, but they have been losing more goals than has been the case in the earlier part of the season. And I think that's something that the manager will be looking at very closely in terms of when they go up. So a bit shaky at the back, but I mean today's game is meaningless in terms of the scoreline. It's only a big game because there's a big support have turned up to see the league flag being unfurled, but it's a game that probably the fans would be wanting to win. Yeah,
is it difficult sometimes when you've got the title in the bag, Macca, to actually keep going, keep producing?
Yeah, but that's where the manager's got to come in, and they got a goal just before half-time to make it 1-1 at half-time, and that's when the manager's got to, by all accounts, he wasn't happy, Peter, and he's got to, you know, give it a little rocket and get them up for the second half, because the fans have turned out in style. You know, and although you've won the league and you don't feel like doing it, you've got to do it, not for yourself, for the fans. And there's 50,000 fans at Ibrox again today, and you think, you know, just put a bit of effort. By all accounts, and watching it, they've had a lot of possession, they've had a lot of shots, but as you say, slack at the back. And to be fair to the boy, it was a great, is it Duffy? Great goal, great finish, you know. And apparently Warburton wanted him at Bradford by some accounts, and he chose to go to Alloa. So. Great finish in front of a 50,000 crowd. Yeah,
we must mention a real positive, James Tavernier, 15 goals for the season, Gordon.
Yeah, absolutely. And I mean, we had a wee discussion last night about the nominations for Player of the Year, and I thought, you know, you're looking at maybe Barry Mackay could have been one, but I forgot to mention Tavernier, obviously, as well. When you get a fullback who can score 15 goals, he surely could come in to contention. I know Lee Waters has scored quite a few as well, and he is one of the candidates for the Player of the Year, but that's a tremendous run. I mean, there'll be a lot of midfield players, maybe even some strikers that haven't even got close to that. Yeah,
I'm almost certain that some strikers, Gordon, will be absolutely delighted with 15 goals for the season. Just before we head into our first break, Ruffy, I wonder, I mean, he scored his goal from inside the penalty box. I wonder if he's going to be as lethal and have the ability to get into the box next year when Rangers come up against a higher level of opposition.
There's no doubt about it. He's the kind of player you want him about. Yeah, he adds a lot to the club. I'm just watching Rangers. Just a chance there to go 2-1.
Good save.
It was a good save for the goalkeeper. But yeah, you're right. But we have to say when Rangers were in the big league before they went down the division, I think Kenny Miller possibly wouldn't have been playing 3 years later. You know, not in the first team anyway. Yeah. You know, I still think he can add something, but not 90 minutes at the top. And I thought when they were in the big division, he was beginning to get phased out. And maybe himself saying, look, I've had a great run, I'm going to retire now. But he's still there, and all credit to him.
OK, we will bring you the full-time score from Ibrox and obviously discuss the handing over of the Championship trophy. Rangers are back in the top flight and the fans will be there to party long into the night. We're also going to discuss the PFA Player of the Year nominations in the lower leagues, and we'll also look at St Johnstone against Aberdeen from last night. Welcome back to Peter and Ruffy's Saturday Football Show. Still 1-1, Ruffy, and heading to the closing stages at Ibrox.
Yeah, I have to say Alloa have been impressive, really comfortable on the ball. Everybody's working for each other, but again they're pressing forward and trying to get a goal, a second goal, and that's when possibly Rangers might cash in. So I think if I was Alloa and the manager, I'd be happy with what I've got and try and see the game out. But here they go again, there's another chance. But just not a good ball into the box. So no, I think Alloa, I mean, this is a team that's getting relegated, going to Ibrox in front of 50,000 people. It's just a fantastic day for them, you know, and something possible that they can build on next year.
And I think great credit to Mike Mulroney at Alloa. He's offered Jack Ross a new deal, and no surprise, he's come in and made a huge contribution there. I
think he has. I mean, as Ruffy says, that they haven't played too badly at all. I mean, they've competed. And that's playing a bigger pitch today, because you remember they brought in their own pitch, they nailed it right in, and yet everybody would say, well, they can't cope then with a big pitch, and yet they've gone to Ibrox today and they've performed well. And as I say, I think they've done the right thing to appoint them, because they will want to try and get themselves back up. It is a tough division, League One, and Alloa will be there next year. But I'm still looking at the way they play, then it's good to see that they're actually trying to play a bit of football, and they look as if they've got a lot of good young fit players too.
Yep, I think it's been a huge week for Rangers, Macca. The confidence boost of securing their place in the Scottish Cup final with that victory over Celtic. The big question in the summer for the majority of the 50,000 fans inside Ibrox is, what kind of backing will Mark Warburton get to really boost the current squad that he has?
Well, he's always said that he wanted 4 or 5 players, and I was in a restaurant the other night and I seen the two of them deep in thought. Mark Warburton and Dave King, the two of them were sitting in the corner and they were deep in thought. So I don't know whether that was something to do with the fact he's wanting money to, or who paid the bill. I didn't see who paid the bill, but it was. They will be discussing players, and I was sure. Look, Mark Warburton's been about, so I'm sure he will know who he wants, and it's just whether Dave King and the board of directors can go and get them for him.
Yeah, I don't want to be critical of you, Macca, but why didn't you go up and ask them? I mean, surely you should have gone up there.
I know.
Just had a chat with them.
They were kidding on, they didn't know who I was.
It's an impossibility, Macca.
Yeah.
I thought you were going to say that you paid the bill, Macca.
No, I didn't. No.
And incidentally, Ruffy, that we've still got our meal to come with
Yes,
Macca
I know,
as well.
I know.
Really looking
Not a
forward to
problem,
that. We've got lots to talk about, of course. We're getting to the closing stages now, Ruffy. I just think it could be a late show again, and that's been a feature of Rangers. They just do not relent.
No, that was another chance there. Again, full back getting forward into the 18-yard box and having a shot at goal. It's been what it's been like all year. It never happened there, but certainly Alloa will have to watch out with the next 2 or 3 minutes, because you would think Rangers would get another couple of chances. So, as I said earlier, that if I was Alloa, I'd be happy with one each.
That was actually a poor effort.
But that's the fullback. That's the right fullback.
In the left back position.
In the
left winger
position.
Yeah.
I mean, the biggest thing I noticed, Peter, it's all right doing it against lower opposition. We were talking about how they were going to do it against Celtic, and to be fair, they changed it because it was so noticeable when one fullback went, the other one sat in, which we all were agreeing that's what good teams do. I mean,
yeah.
But against lower divisions, the two of them bombed forward. And to be fair to them, they've done a great job against Celtic, because one just sat in as soon as Tavernier went. If Wallace went, Tavernier sat in. And they dovetailed quite well, didn't they? So it shows that they can do it. But I mean, you're seeing Tavernier, he scored his goal from the left wing position. And he's a right fullback, you know. It's just they must have licensed to go and basically do what they want, really.
Yeah, I think the one good thing that when you consider, Ruffy, you know, since we've been together on this show, we've watched Rangers in the lower leagues, football that slowly but surely resulted in a number of fans no longer going to watch the games because they weren't happy. They were making their displeasure known, and now look at this season here. He's transformed them.
Yeah, I mean, even in the players that he's brought to the club, you know, there is a transformation there, and the supporters have bought into it, you know, and but they need to do something now. I mean, I don't think he needs to get the supporters to buy into next year. I think that today's attendance shows you that they will be there, but it'll be the expectation of what's going to happen this year. We've looked at Aberdeen and we've looked at why they've failed, and they've failed because their consistency level wasn't there for the whole season. There was spells when they just couldn't win a game, and you're looking at Rangers, and yeah, it was a great performance last week against Celtic, but results like this, results like going to Easter Road, show that they are still away from having that consistency. They can do it in a one-off game. We've seen them doing it against opposition, but the management will be looking at what do I need to do to get a team that can win every week, without, the challenge. Because that's what they want. Rangers won't want to come up and be just trying to get into the top 6 or trying to get into the top 4. The fans will expect, a decent challenge.
Well, Martin Wycorn believes that they can win the title at the first attempt.
Yeah, I think it's probably the kind of thing that, what do you say when you're asked that question? If a press man says, can you win the league title, that next season, and you say, no, we don't think we will, you're regarded as being negative and put it off. So then you say, well, yeah, we could, and then that becomes the headline. Yeah. So it is difficult in those circumstances, Peter. But I think what Ruffy was saying is right to a degree. What happened by beating Celtic, I felt that I spoke before the game about it and said that a little problem that will come if Rangers do well against Celtic and they get through, then what happens is the expectancy levels increase. So what you've got now are fans who do think that they can challenge for the league because they actually knocked Celtic out. They didn't beat Celtic, but they knocked Celtic out of the cup. And they'll be saying, well, this is us. Before we go up, we'll be getting some players in, so therefore we should be challenging for the league. So they now believe, and they'll now expect Rangers to be challenging for the championship next year. And nobody can come out at Rangers and say, no, we won't be, because that won't be allowed. Yeah,
you're into the final 60 seconds, Ruffy, of injury time now. Looks as if it could be a share of the spoils.
Yeah, and as I say, the Alaba boys will be fair chuffed with that result after the season that they've had. I know the result doesn't really matter to Rangers because as soon as the final whistle goes, the celebrations will be there for everybody to see. But again, it's still an indication of where Rangers are just now. They haven't had a wonderful season, but I think the manager's perfectly correct to keep pursuing the 5 or 6 players because I think they will need it if they're going to be up there in the top 4 next year.
Okay. The one thing we keep talking about, Peter, is momentum, and that's 2 games that they've not won after beating Celtic. They get turned over with Hibs, and that's 1 each. It's a full-time whistle there, so it's 1 each there. Now momentum going into the Scottish Cup final, it's something. If you don't win many games, you're wanting your team to keep going and getting that winning, the good feeling still at the club, and you've
still got 2 league games to play before that cup final comes along.
Yeah. So they've got the manager will be saying, well, let's turn this around before we get to the cup final, because they don't want to go in and, as Ruffy says, they could beat anyone on their day, but it's a consistency that's diabolical, really.
Yeah, okay, nice little exchange at the end of the game. Jack Ross just wishing Mark Warburton all the best, and I think the Rangers players will just want to get the trophy in hand and then possibly onwards to, I think, their own player of the year. Is Wycorn going to, do you think he's a Stonewall certainty for the club's player of the year? We don't know what's going to happen in the PFA player of the year.
Yeah, I think he'd be in the running, but I do think for the club's player of the year there are challenges, because there have been strong performances from the 2 full-backs, Tavernier and Wallace. Wycorn's been excellent. Kenny Miller has been outstanding when you consider his age. I think that also Halliday's had a good season, and Mackay. They're all, I think, good candidates. I don't know whether Wycorn, because he was doing so well and he's dipped off his goal scoring just because he's been out injured for a while. So he might get it on that basis that he was on a high at the time, but it's hard to say. But it's amazing looking at the game today. You're looking at that Rangers at home to Alloa, and then the 2 teams are going opposite directions. Yeah. You know what I mean? There's nothing in the game in terms of the scoreline, and yet Rangers are going up a division. They're going to be 2 divisions apart at the start of next season. Yeah, absolutely. One game that's already kicked off down south at the moment. It's Manchester City 4. Stoke City 0. That's City been on the end of 2 hidings, Ruffy, in the last couple of games. Tottenham obviously surprised them by giving them a real thumping in midweek.
Yeah, but we all know the Man City side is stacked with quality quality players all over the place, and on their day, if you, like all good sides, if you let them score early on, you know, they start to dominate, and they have done again today. They've got tremendous players when everything's going well. It's just they're inconsistent, but they're in the semi-final in the big one, so you can't complain.
Yeah, just before we go to our reporters at the key games in the Premiership and in the Championship today, a word on last night's games. St Johnstone 3, Aberdeen 0. Prior to the game, Derek McInnes was saying Aberdeen should be praised, not criticised. He was a little feisty and prickly when it was suggested Aberdeen were a team of bottlers, Gordon Smith, but quite simply, they haven't been up to it as far as chasing Celtic all the way.
No, you're right. It was one of those things. I mean, I think that I can see why he's reacted to it a little bit. He didn't want to see the criticism because they have challenged it, and that's 2 years in a row. They've been the only challenge to Celtic, to be fair. Nobody else has been up there. But there's inefficiencies there, and we see it on a regular basis. I mean, St Johnstone, earlier in the season when Aberdeen were going well and they were challenging, they even lost 5-1 at home to St Johnstone. Yeah. And my understanding is that they actually played better in that game than they played last night. They were very poor. St Johnstone thoroughly deserved their win, and that's a St Johnstone team coming off the back of a 3-0 defeat at Rugby Park. You know, when you look at it and go, well, there's a team struggling for in relegation trouble, beat St Johnstone comfortably, and yet they can go out and beat Aberdeen comfortably. So it shows you that Aberdeen are not there yet.
If anything, there are a couple of areas of concern. They can't handle that ball into the box. The central defenders, I think, are being found out on a regular basis over the course of the season, Macca. The other thing that Derek McInnes highlighted himself was the fact that he feels as if he doesn't have enough physical strength in there. He feels as if his team is easily bullied.
Well, he's got flair players, that's for sure. He's got a lot of what we call game winners in it, game changers in the team. You know, he's got a lot of flair players, a lot of players that you want to see. And what I keep talking about, I like seeing players that get the ball and people stand up. He's got a few of them in the team, and if they develop into the player, I think they're going to become it'll be a decent team. But every team needs a spine, and you need somebody that's just going to put their foot down. You know, Barry Robson was there and he done it when he was at Aberdeen. Okay, he was getting older, but he still had that spine, he still had that tackle in him. And I think everyone needs a top centre-half, top midfield player just to control the game. And you control the tempo then if you get a player like that. So they've not got that because, let's be honest, Aberdeen's had so many chances to catch Celtic this year. And they've just, you know, bottler. I mean, it's a good word because that really is what they've done, and Ronnie could have been, and the Celtic boys could have been in a lot more trouble, a lot more, you know, it could have been a lot closer than what people think, you know, if they'd have won their games. They've done the hard bit, they beat Celtic twice this season, haven't they? So they've done the hard bit, they've never done that in 25 years?
Last year
they've not done it. They've not done it in 25 years.
They lost the 4 games to Celtic last season, and this year they had 2 wins already.
2 wins, and then you want to kick on, that's what you want to do, kick on.
Yeah.
And they've just not done it, they're losing games. But sometimes you get a bogey team, and St Johnstone are obviously Aberdeen's bogey team. They don't like playing because they took 5 off them at Pittodrie, didn't they? So it's a strange one, but he's got to get that sorted for next year. He's got to say, look, there's a new manager coming at Celtic, there'll be new players and a new team.
Yep, there's a lot of questions we'll ask this afternoon, all to do with really what kind of strengthening each team is going to make to respond to the arrival of Rangers, possibly Hibernian, and of course Hearts will want to strengthen as well. Hearts are in Lanarkshire today. They're taking on Motherwell. Mark McGee has offered more than a few experienced players a contract to mull over the summer season, but today they've got a job in their hands against a Hearts side that have had a magnificent season, and Craig Turnbull is there for us.
Hearts have qualified for the Europa League, but they've got their sights set on second place and can go within 5 points of Aberdeen with victory here against the Steelmen. They beat the Mark McGee side 6-0 in January, and he admits in his programme notes that still stings. But I'm expecting a much tighter affair today. Mark McGee's side have been transformed with 5 wins in their last 7, propelling them into the top 6. And McGee says there's no let up, it's full steam ahead until the end of the season. Expecting a really good game here. Hearts have actually just won 1 of their last 10 games here at Fir Park, so we're hoping to finish with a flourish. It's Motherwell v Hearts.
Thanks to Craig Turnbull and Matt McGee rewarding some of the experienced players, Ruffy, that really have propelled them to the top 6.
Yeah, there was a time there when we all thought that it was going to be another relegation battle for Motherwell. When Mark went in there, obviously he had to assess the players that he had, and he changed the team for a couple of games. We were absolutely stunned at some of these selections, you know, players that had been doing particularly well, but he was obviously just feeling his way to see what formation, what players were good against to play with each other. And luckily for him, it only took him a couple of games to realise that the players he was leaving out should be in, and he put them back in again, and they responded, and ever since then they've just kicked on.
Yeah, one of them was Moult. Remember that day we couldn't understand why he'd been left out, because him and McDonald were forming a very good relationship. But you know, guys like that, and McDonald, who's a top class player, you've got Pearson, Lasley, you know, you go through the team, there's loads of them who actually are experienced and do a good job. So I think that the main thing from Motherwell's point of view is they get that top 6 spot, they get right out of the relegation battle, and Matt McGee deserves a lot of credit for what he's done, without doubt. You know, they have played, they did get hammering from Hearts in the season, but I think that they were in a bad spell then. They were losing quite a few games, Peter, and they weren't doing well. But you know, the last time they played them at Fir Park, it was a 2-each draw, so I think it'll be a bit more to that degree today, a bit closer.
Partick Thistle manager Alan Archibald has mentioned that he still is not certain that they will escape the drop. I think he's being overly cautious. It's been a good performance from Thistle. I think 7th place in the Premiership table is a realistic prospect. Let's find out how they're going to fare today against a team from Dundee that are struggling to get a number of fit players. Laura Brannan is there at Firhill.
Yes, bottom 6 for me at Firhill as Partick Thistle welcome a shrunken Dundee squad. Paul Hartley's side have been hit by injuries this week. Thomas Conrad, Rory Loy, Nick Lowe and Daryl Meggett all sidelined, while Julian Extra-Begerin is suspended. The manager has already said he'll be unable to name a full bench this afternoon. That is in fact true. There's only 4 named on the bench. Partick Thistle have their problems too in defence. Callum Booth and Dan Seaborn are both suspended, and goalkeeper Thomas Cherney is unlikely to return from a foot injury, and Callum Booth missing out. That is actually his first competitive game he's missed in over a year. These may be dead rubber games for both sides now that the split is in place, but Jags boss Alan Archibald has stressed how important a 7th place finish will be for this club's finances next season. It'll be tough though. They haven't beat Dundee since April 2012.
Thanks to Laura. I can see the SPFL Championship trophy being brought out. It's on the podium. It's resplendent in red, white and blue ribbons, and the only thing remaining now is for Rangers to emerge from the tunnel. John Gregg is there. Great to see the ambassador for Rangers, in fact the legend that is John Gregg, out there and welcomed back by the Rangers supporters. Tradition is everything, and John Gregg is the greatest ever Ranger, Gordon Smith.
Yeah, he was voted that. He was a tremendous player in his time. He obviously didn't have the best track record as a manager, but there's no doubt about it that the fans still have him in great, hold him in great esteem, as they do Ali McCoist to a degree for the same purpose. Ali McCoist was you know, the top scorer ever for the club, so he's held in the same esteem as well, despite the fact how things didn't work out for him as a manager.
Do you think Ali is there, first and foremost? Macca, I think a lot of people were wondering if, you know, it was a good time to bring Ali McCoist back there because of the journey that Rangers have been on. He played his part in it.
Well, he played a part, whether it was good or bad. I think I've always said that, you know, I'm never going to management, but if I did want to go into management, you don't want the baggage that Alan McCoist had. I mean, it wasn't just running a team. He was running a football club, and I believe that he was the glue that kept all that together. I mean, I really did. I think if there was somebody else there at the time that it all went belly up, I think it might not have been as rosy as what it is today. So I don't know if he'll be there today because he's been getting a lot of
I hope he was invited today.
I hope he's invited.
He was
but,
part.
you know,
He was part of the growth again at the club to get back to where they were. So he probably deserves to be there.
Well, it's a sunny day, you know, he's got a garden to look after and all that. So.
Yeah, I knew you were going to say that, Mark. I think on on a serious note, with regards to Ali McCoist, I think what Macca mentioned there is very pertinent, Ruffy, because almost on a weekly basis he was diffusing bombs.
Yeah, for at least 2.5 years he was diffusing bombs, and I think every interview he went to, that's all he was talking about. And with the people who were there at running the club, I think he done particularly well, and keeping everything to himself and trying to just concentrate on the football and move the club on, and that's what he did. And I mean, I would be hoping that he would be there. You know, I would really. And at the club, I'm sure I read that the club had invited him, but somebody had said this was the right time for him to come back. That would have been the right time for him. I think if he walked out that tunnel with everybody else, the Rangers supporters would get right behind him. And I think it'd be a tremendous gesture. Unfortunately, the one person who can't be there today is obviously Sandy Jardine, who is another person who would have got a fantastic reception today if he could have walked out onto that park. But that's what the day's for. It's about thanking everybody who were there at the very beginning, starting at the bottom division and working their way up, and to where they are just now. And it's good to see that it's a happy crowd.
Yep, and just to describe the pictures for you, basically John Gregg is out there. He's handing out the medals for the championship. Mark Warburton's received his, and of course the Rangers players are making their way up there. And the captain Lee Wallace last out, just high-fiving a few people. And I think it's a great point you make, Ruffy, because Sandy Jardine was there also through the very difficult times for Rangers, especially just with Rangers supporters marching, trying to just highlight the plight of the club and the difficulties in the background, and knowing Sandy, as I did all those years ago when he was at Hearts as well. He's a Rangers man through and through, and would have loved this special day. And I think a lot of people at Rangers, and especially the backroom staff, Gordon, will probably have a thought, a memory for him for today.
Oh, I'd imagine so, yeah. I mean, if it is mentioned as well, that the fans would feel that way too, because he was such a popular figure. Spent a lot of his time, his years at Rangers, either as a player, a coach, and in other offices within it. And I think that he was very well liked, and it was a sad occasion when we all learned that he had been ill for a while before it, but none of us knew that he was so close to death. And when we lost Sandy, it was a very sad day.
Yep, John Gregg is handing over the medal to Martin Waghorn. I'm almost certain, just as the last Rangers players head up onto the podium, Ibrox will indeed erupt. And I think from everyone on the football show, we should offer our congratulations to Rangers, the championship winners, and heading back to the top flight, the Scottish Premiership next season. I think it will be electrifying. Certainly you can give us your thoughts on that at Peter and Ruffy on Twitter, facebook.com/Peter and Ruffy, and also on peterandruffy.com, as Lee Wallace lifts the championship trophy, and the ticker tape is there in red, white and blue. The Rangers fans are celebrating. They know the final phase of the journey back to the top has been completed, and everyone will party long into the night. There's still one piece of silverware up for grabs: Rangers against Hibernian in the Scottish Cup final. So well done to Rangers. Lots more to talk about over the course of the afternoon. We will also be going to Morton against Hibernian, hearing from Derek Clark as well. So you can give us your thoughts on that. We're going to be discussing the PFA Player of the Year as well, looking ahead to Sunday's matches. Let's have a look at the fixtures that we've got on offer for you this afternoon. There you see the St Johnstone result from last night. It's Motherwell Hearts, Partick Thistle against Dundee. And then on the Sunday, Inverness Cally Thistle against Kilmarnock, Celtic Ross County, and Dundee United against Hamilton. And some interesting topics of conversation with regards to the championship. Rangers won, Alloa won. Well done to Rangers, the champions, but of course Alloa in offering Jack Ross a deal that will allow him to build his own side next season. It's Dumbarton against St Mirren, Morton against Hibernian, Queen of the South Livingston, and Wraith Rovers against Falkirk kicks off at 5:15 tonight. In League One, this is what we have on offer for you. Airdrie against Dunfermline, Albion Rovers take on Forfar, Brecon City against Stranraer, Cowdenbeath, Stenhousemuir, and Peterhead against Ayr United. And in Scottish League 2, Arbroath against Montrose, Berwick Rangers, East Fife, East Stirlingshire against Elgin City, Queen's Park against Clyde, and Stirling Albion against Annan Athletic. Manchester City 4, Stoke City 0. That match is finished in the Barclays Premier League. Just a word on one of the lower league games, Ruffy. It's quite unusual to get a situation where the Albion Rovers boss, Darren Young, knows that a victory today against Forfar could send his brother's side, Derek Young's side, down a division.
Yeah, and I'm sure there will be a bit of banter between the two of them. The two of them are very close, even at most of the clubs they went to. They were there or thereabouts each other, so it'll be an emotional day for one of them and a happy day for the other. So I think Gordon thinks it's going to be Albion Rovers, so let's hope he's right.
I'd forgotten it was the two brothers.
Absolutely, I hadn't forgotten about it. It's all about preparation. Let's go to Capello. Morton are taking on Hibernian. Derek Clark is there. Okay, we'll come back to that. We're not getting anything from Derek there. We'll try and get back to Derek at Capello and hear what he had to say there. I can tell you that Mark Warburton has the microphone in his hand. He's not going through any karaoke at the moment. He is addressing the Rangers fans, and I think sending the message out that he wants to thank them for their support and giving his all for next season to make sure they are up there challenging. It's the message that every Rangers fan wants to hear, Ruffy.
Yeah, it's incredible to see, you know, not just today, but most home games, that stadium has been nearly full, and that's an incredible thing for any football club to have supporters like that who stick by you right until the end.
Yep, and clearly he's a firm favourite now, Gordon Smith.
Yeah, he definitely is. He's a popular figure because you know, they're happy with the type of football they've been playing. Certainly very happy with the results that have come out from it. Winning the league championship last year, they only were runner-up and had to get into playoff. But this time they won that in a cup final, and they won obviously the Petrofac Cup too.
Okay, I can see a smiling David Weir. He's played his part in it for Rangers as well. They are the champions of the championship. We'll be concentrating on the Premiership and the other leagues in Scotland next. show. Mark Warburton just walking around at Ibrox at the moment with the championship trophy in hand, and smiles all round after a job well done for Rangers. Of course, there's lots of games that we're going to focus on over the course of the afternoon, and we'll have more than a few discussions about some of the other burning issues in Scottish football as well. And let's not forget Celtic in action tomorrow against Ross County. But this week, everyone learned about the situation with Ronnie Deila, who has agreed to leave the club at the end of the season. Did he jump or was he pushed, Ruffy?
Well, if you go by the interviews that he put out there, he said himself he was finding the pressure too much to deal with, and he seems quite an ordinary, decent guy, you know, who I think that just pressure got too much to him, and he's made a decision for his good health rather than anything else. Like, it must be a horrible experience being in a job and continually being in the media about when you go and what, all that stuff. You know, it must be very, very hard to deal with. And at that level, I think he's made the decision. But I think reading between the lines, he's been in the game long enough to know that it was going to happen anyway.
Yeah, I don't believe that maybe Ronnie Deila was making that decision, Gordon, on the basis that I think it was breaking point and just the straw that broke the camel's back, losing to Rangers. I
agree. Yeah, I think that with those sort of situations, you never know what goes on behind closed doors. But you're probably looking at the scenario whereby if you're going to go out of the Cup to Rangers, your biggest rivals who are at the moment a division below, then we all recognise that that might be the end of the game for him. So whether he's just been given the licence to say, I'm leaving, so it takes the pressure off the board a little bit, Ronnie Deila's walking away, rather than them having to say, we've sacked him or whatever, because they're allowing him to stay on to the end of the season, so they are giving him the opportunity to enjoy the League Championship win, but he's gone now, and a new manager will take over. So you just wonder whether they've already got somebody else in mind, whether that person will be looking at the games to assess the squad, all that type of thing. I actually did think at one stage that they might allow John Collins to run it till the end of the season, just because of the fact that as an assistant manager you don't always get putting your own things in place. You actually are complying with what the manager wants to do. So John Collins might have slightly different ideas on it, but he's complying because he's been brought in as assistant. So I thought Ronnie Deila might have walked away now, and he would still have got the credit for the league win if they win it, because he was there for most of the season. But I do think that that result last Sunday was time up for him.
Yeah, but just before we get the thoughts of Frank McAvenny, this is what Ronnie Deila had to say, taking questions from the media about his decision to end his tenure as Celtic manager.
I'm thinking about this for a little bit while, because of I haven't felt that the team has got the result they should have, and maybe the most important, the performance that I wanted. And the improvement. I started when I come into this job, I talked about improving the team. I talked about playing attractive football. And I think the last 6 months we haven't had that improvement that we need.
He doesn't feel as if there's been progress in the last 6 months, Maka, and over the 2 years, a league and a League Cup and on the verge of another league is just not good enough, which is strange times we're living in.
No, it's strange. I said 2 years ago when he got the job, it was no reflection on, I didn't know the guy, I just said the job's too big for him. He's coming from a little country and coming in, and I wasn't being disrespectful to Ronnie Deila. It was just, I thought it was Peter Lawwell made the wrong choice. He downsized a lot of players. There's a lot of players there, Peter, at the club that's been brought in now. Ronnie came out and says that he bought all these players. There's no chance that he's bought 23 players. He's bought all his midfield players, or the club has. Now, there's so much, I've been writing things down, Peter, just dead wood at the club, I think, that shouldn't be there. Boyata, Ambrose, Christie, Kazim Richards, Carlton Cole, Scott Allen, Lustig, they're all ready to go. So whoever's coming in, that's just to name, there's a lot more than that, Peter, but yeah. It's incredible how that Ronnie came in. Listen, he's a likeable guy. He's come out and spoke to the press, and I think anyone that can front up like that, then good luck to him. He's come out and says he wasn't up to the task. I could have told you that 2 years ago, and I think a few ex-players have said that. But he's a likeable guy, and all the fans wanted him to do well. And I wanted to, because I'm a Celtic supporter, I wanted him to do well. I just thought, you don't know Celtic and Rangers are such massive clubs until you walk in that door. And it's what's it like when you walk in, you know, it's worldwide. I mean, they're one of the biggest clubs in the world when it comes to it. And
Expected to levels are
it's
high.
incredible, isn't it? And he wouldn't have known that when he walked in the door, Peter.
I'll take you to task on some of your players in a moment, but Ruffy, you think the board is to blame. It's not just simply one man. Whether the job's too big or not, you have to give that person a chance. You have to wait to see what he's doing. But, you know, from early on, he was making ridiculous statements in press conferences. And, of course, Europe, he just couldn't get anywhere with it.
Yeah, and that's probably why the board have gave him so long, because they are part and parcel of the decision of where the club was going in the time that he was there. You know, what they've done is they've said, right, okay, money's not there the way it was. This is the way we're going to go. There's obviously something being put down for a 2 or 3 year project, and to back this 2 or 3 year project as a manager who would back that project. And if they'd brought any of the managers that we are now talking about in 2 years ago, they wouldn't have bought in to what the club was going to do. Well, I don't think they would. Bought in to the players who were coming in, identifying young players and hoping you could sell them on. That's a long-term project, but when you want the long-term project, you've got to have success as well in Europe, and then the two don't go together.
Yeah.
You know, and it was very evident early on that it wasn't working, but they stuck by it.
Okay, you can give us your thoughts on Ronnie Deila. We'll hear from Lee Griffiths as well. He was talking yesterday. And Player of the Year in the Championship, League One and League Two. And we'll look at all the fixtures on this Saturday afternoon. If there's a goal that hits the back of the net this afternoon, we'll bring it to you. Welcome back to Peter and Ruffy's Saturday Football Show, getting ever closer to kick-off at 3 o'clock in the Premiership matches, Championship, League 1 and League 2. Let's go to Firhill for the teams there. Laura Brannan.
Home side today, and Amu and Pogba drop to the bench. Seaborn and Booth miss out through suspension. So Partick Thistle line up. Ryan Scully in goals, the back four of Mustafa Dubai, Gary Miller, Liam Lindsay and Christy Elliott. Abdul Osman and Sean Welsh sit behind Aidan Nesbitt, Ryan Edwards and Stephen Lawless, with Chris Doolan up front. Dundee are the visitors today. They line up a 3-4-1-2. There's 3 changes to the side. Out drop Conrad, Extra Bugerin and Kerr. In come McGinn, Gadzalov and Harkins. So they line up Scott Bain in goals, Paul McGinn, Costadin, Gadzalov and Darren O'Dea. In midfield of Gary Harkins, Paul McGowan, Nick Ross and Kevin Holt. And Greg Stewart playing just off Kane Hemmings and Craig Whiten. The subs this afternoon for Partick Thistle: Paul Gallagher, David Amu, Freddie Franz, Kevin Nisbet, James Penrees and Matthias Pogba. And Dundee, as I said earlier, just the 4 subs named today: David Mitchell, Arturo, Cammy Kerr and Calvin Colquhoun on the bench. And I should just point out that today is the 150th appearance for Partick Thistle's Stephen Lawless.
It'll be an emotional day, no doubt, for Stephen Lawless, because he's one of those players, and one of a number of players, Ruffy, I think, on both sides, that will be looking on with great interest to see which players they're going to lose and how they're going to strengthen. Because these two sides, I think, you look at and you always think to yourself, they're either going to struggle to stay in the division or maybe always be mid-table.
Yeah, I think Partick Thistle would be, of the two, would be the one that would have to worry that the most. I think Alan Archibald knows. And unfortunately, there are teams like Ross County and Inverness paying more money than what they're paying. You know, and that's the hard one for him, that he knows that the only reason these guys are leaving, and quite rightly so, is obviously they're getting better paid. So then he's got to go out and identify players that will come in and try and replace them. And certainly the players that you've mentioned there will be very hard to replace. And unfortunately for Alan, that's what he's had to do year on year. Lost the 2 fullbacks last year. You know, he's got some young players in just now who haven't really, you know, hacked it. And he's brought a few guys in. I think Amu's done well. Pogba really hasn't done anything. So at the end of the season for Alan is a hard task, because he's got to start going out and finding other players.
And Dundee, players that I think a number of clubs covet.
Yeah, I don't think there's any doubt about that. The 1 or 2 other players could be under pressure as well, whether they'll stay at the club. But at least Dundee make some money in for them, Peter. I'm sure Paul Hartley is looking round at the moment just to see availability, you know, of players who, you know, could basically be available for the new season. I mean, you know, you're looking at guys, you know, even like El Baktouy. I don't know whether he's his contract's up or not, but he would be certainly somebody I think that the Premier League clubs should be looking at in terms of his goal scoring record. You know what I mean? So he's done a tremendous job in that division. So players like that, and you know, I think that the 1 or 2 of the Dundee players, as you said, though, will be definitely be sought after.
Yeah,
but Paul's not frightened to get down the divisions.
No,
he's not frightened to go to Cowdenbeath and identify. You know, I know it doesn't work all the time, but he's not frightened to go in there and take a chance.
See,
in some of them.
There's a player here, Greg, the boy Spence. He was at Celtic, never got a chance.
That's right.
Never really got a chance. But you know, I know the boy. I don't know him personally, but he's a good player. And I think he's got a chance, and I think he can play at a higher level.
Oh, definitely. I mean, there's a lot of them. You see that a lot. The boys get released for the old firm because it's so hard for them to break through there. They have to sometimes drop divisions, but that doesn't mean to say that, you know, that they've been failures.
Yeah.
It's just because it's hard for them to break through, and if they keep it going, keep their attitude right, they can come back. You only need to look at Robertson, who went to Queen's Park after getting released by Celtic.
Yeah.
You know, then the next thing you know, he's at Dundee United and in Hull City for big money.
Well, there's no surprise that Fasil El Baktouy has already been linked with a move to Aberdeen or Motherwell, so certainly they're keeping their tabs on one of the nominees for the League 1 Player of the Year. We'll look at that a little later on in the programme. Let's go to Fir Park before kick-off with the teams. Craig Turnbull.
From Motherwell from the side that lost 2-1 to Celtic. In comes goalkeeper Craig Sampson for his first start, as Connor Ripley drops to the bench through illness. Also in is Lionel Ainsworth, and out goes Morgano Gomez against his parent club. So Motherwell line up with Sampson in goal, a back four of Law, Kennedy, McManus and Hamill. Ainsworth, Cadden, Lasley and Johnston make up the midfield, with Scott McDonald and top scorer Louis Moult up front. On the bench for the Steelmen is Ripley, Chalmers, Leach, Thomas, Watt, Hall and Campbell. Well, the visitors make 4 changes from the side that drew 0-0 with Inverness in the Highlands. Out goes Blažić, Augustine, Oceaniwa, who is suspended, Miguel Pallardo and Dario Zanetta. In comes Callum Patterson, Liam Smith, Prince Blavin and Sam Nicholson. So they go with Alexander in goal, a back four of Patterson, Ozturk, Suter and Smith. Kitchen and Blavin in holding midfield, with Walker, Zoom and Nicholson supporting Wanma up front. On the bench for Robbie Nielsen is substitute goalkeeper Jack Hamilton, Blažić, Augustine, Miguel Pallardo, Riley, Cowie, McGee and Dowda. And the referee for today's game is Andrew Dallas.
Okay, Ruffy, I'm looking at both sides there. Hearts ever evolving, ever changing, and with Robbie Nielsen talking to Anne Budge and Craig Levine over the last 24 hours, he'll now know what he's got in place as far as a budget's concerned and what they have to do to try and either take it on or make sure that they've cemented their place in that top 6 next season.
Well, and just looking at that Hearts side there, plus the players that were not available for selection and the squad, I think if Hearts improve on that squad, you know, I think they will be a right challenge next year. I think the way they've set out their stall, everybody knows going to Tynecastle is always a hard one to go and win. And if they were to add 2 or 3 players, I think that would be a fantastic squad that they've got there. I think Motherwell have obviously got a wee bit of work to do with all the, obviously the experienced guys there, but Hearts look to me the team on the up.
Yeah, and I still think, Gordon, that when you look at some of the teams and the way they've performed this season and the way Hearts have come from the Championship to the Premiership, I'd love to see it an extended division.
Well, I actually think, I agree with you. I think that this season has proved more than any other, maybe prior to this, that we have that very little between, if there is even a gulf between the Premier League and the top of the Championship, when you look at it, because you're looking at a scenario there where, you know, Hearts have come up and done well and been up there challenging. You've got cup finals. You know, you've the 3 Championship teams if you count Hibs twice, and Rangers and Ross County, the only other team from the Premier League that got to a cup final. And the results have proved it, that you actually have teams now playing in the lower divisions who can compete with Premier League teams. So you're right, why not look at a bigger division?
Yep, we can go to Capello, Morton against Hibernian and Derry Clark. Okay, I think we're going to give up on Derek Clark. That's just not happening. But Hibs have a job to do, because as well as winning that game against Rangers, which I think maybe Frank McAvaney Falkirk didn't anticipate, suddenly they've closed the gap. Suddenly it's all to play for.
Well, of course, we always says that Falkirk were pushing them, they were going to push them. Hibs in the last few weeks have not been doing really well. They've dropped points. And it's just one of these situations. I think if they don't win today, I think Falkirk will take it. If they don't win today, it's, you know, I'm looking at these things and I'm quite shocked with the play, because I've liked Falkirk this year, but I thought they've done well. Houston says they're creeping up the back, and I just think they've done well and they've not got the credit for it, I think. And I don't understand why they've not got anyone in the Championship team. They're not putting them, they've not got anyone in the running for it. And I'm thinking, Baird's been tremendous this season for them. He got an injury which knackered your bet up, but he's been absolutely superb this season. And I'm just thinking, whoever picked this time, he's only picked concentrated on these 2 teams.
Well, as players, though, I mean, that is, you know yourself, it's a vote.
It's a vote.
Every player's individual vote.
Yeah, absolutely.
So they're just voting for the big teams because they're all.
They're voting for who they rate, because they only vote 1. Each player only votes for 1, Frank. They don't vote for 4.
Would you have picked him, Peter? Would you have picked him for?
Well, to be honest with you, if I'm being brutally honest with you, I think of the nominations, you cannot vote for your own teammates, so that's the first thing. But secondary to that, John McGinn, outstanding in the international lineup.
Yeah.
Jason Cummings, 16, 17 goals, been superb. Lee Wallace has scored goals from left back, and I think he's looking lean, mean, and he's a better player this season than some of the seasons that I witnessed over the last couple of years. And I don't think there's any argument whatsoever against Martin Waghorn.
I think the one player that, although you've really topped them all, is Tavernier.
Tavernier, how's he not there as well?
You know, but who would you leave out? You know, it's a difficult one. If you leave out Wallace, do you put Tavernier in there? Who do you think's been the best between Wallace and Tavernier?
Me personally, I think Tavernier's been better than Wallace.
That would be the only one. That would be the only one I would possibly change.
But not John Baird, and John Baird has had a magnificent season. But you're talking about that level again.
Yeah.
You know, where he's probably just.
And you know, these are the nominations. These are the highest four that get the votes. So obviously, there's a situation where people just haven't looked at these other guys, Frank, and just thought they've not made it.
Listen, Liverpool are a goal up on Newcastle. I can tell you, Albion Rovers 0-4-1. Maybe Derek Young's going to have the last laugh in the battle of the brothers. And Airdrieonians a goal up on Dunfermline. I think I've just got a note here, Ruffy. The last three players have come back from the party that Dunfermline had for the championship 3 weeks ago. So it's as simple as that. Just on that point, we were looking at the. You were talking there about the nominations for the Championship Player of the Year and the League One and League Two. We'll have a look at them and discuss them now. The games are up and running. If there's a goal, I'll bring everyone we possibly can to you. But as far as the Championship is concerned, of those four players, who do you see getting? Is it going to be a Jason Cummings? Is it a John McGinn? Is it Lee Wallace? Or is it Martin Waghorn?
For me, it's got to be McGinn.
Yeah?
Yeah, he's got
Why?
to, because he's done that step up. He's done that step up. He's proven that he's ready now. He was such a young kid, and he's stepped up now in the Scotland team. Didn't look. It looks as if he's been there for years.
Yeah.
You know, and for me, that's maturity, and it means that he can go on and play at any level. And for me, he's just done magnificent this season. I honestly think he deserves that.
Yeah, we had a discussion on it last night, and you've just complied with what we all thought.
Is that right?
Yeah, we all went for John McGinn too. That's good. We just feel.
Obviously, it was never. I never watched the show because I was out.
Absolutely.
No, we did. We all thought he has been an outstanding player, and the fact is that he's got through to get the international recognition as well. Yeah,
and to step up and just look so comfortable.
Yeah.
I mean, and he did look comfortable. We all said that at the time.
I think the boy Waghorn's unfortunate. I think if he hadn't got injured, he'd have been a stick-on. I think he was heading towards 40-odd goals, and that would have been enough for me to give him the vote.
I know, and to get money off him.
Yeah, unfortunately, it didn't happen, Ruffy, and another season slips by.
I think Kevin's coming back next week.
Absolutely. I know Macca missed the show last night, but fortunately, Ruffy and myself taped it on Betamax for his house, so we'll be able to bring that round. The goals going in across the country on a Saturday afternoon. Join us if you can every Saturday, 2 till 6. And let's not forget throughout the summer as well, on the Monday to Friday show, if you've been enjoying the guests we've had on, we'll bring you some of the best of. So we'll get some really great one-off specials as well to look forward to. I'm not going to just let the secrets out just yet, but with some great specials that Ruffy has been heavily involved in with myself to bring you throughout the summer months, just in case there are weeks or two here or there that you're not going on holiday. I'm sure you'll still get your football fix. Daniel Sturridge scored the goal for Liverpool to give them the lead against a Newcastle side fighting for the life. I'm sure it would have been an emotional and, of course, a rousing reception for Rafa Benitez going back to Anfield. Okay, so from the Championship, you think it's going to be John McGinn. From League One, and I tell you, Bournemouth 0, Chelsea 1. So the Blues have taken the lead in that match. From the League One, I'm looking at the Joe Cardle, Fasil El Baktui, Rory McAllister, and also Greg Spence. Gordon Smith.
I think Greg Spence has done well. As Frank said, he's playing a tough job with Cowdenbeath, who are not one of the top teams. The other lads have all come from the 2 top teams, the other 3 nominations. But I think I still would go for El Bakhtoui. He and McAllister have got the same amount of goals, leading goal scorers, but McAllister, 7 of his goals have been penalties, whereas Bakhtouy's not scored a penalty. They're all from normal play. So I therefore would go for him as a main player.
Do you not think penalties is a contribution, Gordon?
It's a contribution, but I think if you score a penalty.
Okay, Mark, did you buy into that with
Yeah,
Gordon?
of course I do.
Yeah?
Yeah, it's because I never took penalties, that's why.
Yeah. Ruffy, what do you make of what Gordon's saying there?
El Bakhtoui or Rory McAllister. I think Rory McAllister's just got the edge on him. Everybody seems to vote for him when this competition comes round. He seems to be a very popular guy within the league, so I think that'll sway it again.
I'll tell you, Jamie Walker's almost put Hearts ahead. Left-footed shot, just a nice little flick on from Wabin, and then a left-foot shot, just hooked it wide. What a chance that was for Hearts. It's East Stirlingshire 0, Elgin City 1, and Albion Rovers have got the equaliser against Forfar. So Derek Young just looking over to the touchline, he can see his brother just going like that. Yes, we've equalised. So I think there'll be a fine coming for Derek. The last thing you want, Ruffy, is anybody celebrating a goal these days.
Yeah, and it depends whose side the mother's on, because she'll be there as well. So I don't know what dugout she'll be behind.
Well, see, Albion Rovers have got they've still got a possibility outside to a slight extent to get into the playoff position.
Is that right?
I mean, they're I think they're 6 points behind Stranraer, Peter. I think.
Yeah.
So that's why you went for them.
Yeah, because I just thought they would have to. I just thought they would need a score. They needed a win today, I thought, but Forfar do need a win too, because they have lost a. They were actually above breaking most of the season until the last couple of weeks, Peter.
Yeah, it's only 5 points.
It's 5 points, is it? Yeah. Well, they've dropped below. Forfar have gone bottom only in the last week, because before that, as I say, Brechin were there for quite some time.
Brian Cameron has scored that goal for Elgin to give them the lead at East Stirlingshire. And across the afternoon, if you want to interact with us, you can at Peter and Ruffy on Twitter and facebook.com/Peter and Ruffy, and you can indeed just look back over some of the highlights we'll be talking about today of what we brought to you on the Peter and Ruffy show, especially with the likes of Ronnie Diala's decision to leave Celtic at the end of the season. There are 3 games that we'll be looking forward to tomorrow: Celtic, Ross County, Dundee United, Hamilton, and Inverness against Kilmarnock. It's one of those weeks where everybody and their granny has thrown their name into the hat for the Celtic job.
Of course, but just taking away from it, no talking about Twitter there, Peter. Did I see something about you yesterday on Twitter? For the Queen's birthday, you were a nice photo. Was it yesterday or the day before?
Yes, it was indeed.
When was
Look
that?
at Ruffy's face.
When
Look
was
at
that?
Ruffy's
When was
face.
that? I didn't know about that.
Yes, I met the Queen
I was
4
very
years
proud of
ago.
you there. You
Yes,
looked very nice.
I was in my suit. I had my hair brushed.
Yes,
I'd already been
so-
instructed on how you actually greet royalty as a patron of St Margaret of Scotland
There you
Hospice.
go.
They were celebrating their anniversary, and the Queen, who actually had been at the hospice before, came back. And all the patrons and all the staff and all the patients got a great chance to have a lunch and meet the Queen.
Yeah, I thought that deserved a mention.
It
there,
was very nice. You caught Ruffy on the hop. You should have seen his
No,
face.
I
He was wondering where you were going.
I just thought I had one up on you in that, because I've actually shook her hand as well.
Oh, have you?
Yeah, well, how does
I
that
don't
make you
know.
have one up
How's
on
it
you?
one up?
you?
That makes you even.
Did you play in the Queen's Silver Jubilee?
No.
At Hampden?
No.
She
Yeah.
actually came up and shook my hand and said, "Not doing too well this year, are you, Alan?"
Do you know, that would be absolutely fantastic if you did say that, Ruffy. But again, the views of Alan Ruff are not necessarily the views of this programme. But that was nice of you to mention that, Mark.
No
It was
worries.
4 years ago. It was the,
that four?
and obviously with the Queen's 90th birthday. Who'd have thought we'd have got Her Majesty the Queen on this programme? She hasn't scored a goal this afternoon. We are looking at the goals that are going in. We're still waiting on a goal from Motherwell against Hearts, or Partick Thistle against Dundee. That's the only 2 games names on. We were talking there about Ronnie Dyler when Mackie eventually took me off in a mazy, as he often does. A lot of people have thrown their name into the hat. We'll hear from Neil Lennon in just about 60 seconds, who was talking about the job itself. David Moyes, we brought again on this programme the exclusive interview with David Moyes, who's interested in it. So many other candidates: Michael O'Neill, Roy Keane, Brendan Rodgers.
They're all getting.
Alan Stubbs has distanced himself from talking about it.
Well, I think they're all. Me personally, I would love Moyes to take it, but I think he's waiting on the chance to get back to Everton if it doesn't work out for Martinez.
Just out of curiosity, Maka, why would you go back to Everton? I don't think there's a groundswell of opinion from Everton fans to take Moyes
do I,
back.
but I think David Moyes would want it. I think he would want to go back.
You think they would still be angry with him because you left, Peter?
No, I don't think so. I genuinely don't
think
think so. I think Everton now have got new owners. I think they will come in with a fresh attitude. Okay, Bill Kenwright is still there and still has an influence.
Yeah.
But there was 10 years of David Moyes. David Moyes, managed to do a wonderful job for them. I just do not think that club will go in there. I'm not suggesting for a minute it's a backward step. I'm just saying I don't think they'll go back to a manager that they've had before. I think they'll look for a clean sweep on it.
I'm suggesting that he might wait to see what happens there.
To see if he's offered it?
Yeah.
I don't think he'll be offered it.
There was a spell where Martinez actually was getting more praise than David Moyes was getting. People were saying he has actually got the club to another level.
They're playing decent football, but they got a new set of players in. They got decent players. The young boys coming through like Bartley and players like that. You know, they're all too young. And Martinez in the last 4 years has brought these boys through. And brought in McCarthy, stamped in the midfield. So he's done well, Martinez. It's just, and if you look at them, they play decent football, apart from when they get terms of midfield with Liverpool. But they've been playing decent football. If they get to the cup final, I think it could all change if they beat Man United this week. It could all change. Yeah. But it's a strange one. I think Brendan Rodgers is going to. I think by all accounts, I've heard that he's going to go back to Swansea. So that's ruled him out. Malcolm Mackay's flung his hat into the ring. I've seen that, and he's saying all the right things, 10 in a row and all that kind of thing. And he's just saying everything right. But whether the powers that be at Celtic would want Malky in with the baggage that he's going to bring, I don't know if it would. If the timing is right for that.
As far as Neil Lennon's concerned, he was on the programme in midweek, and again, even with what we were discussing there with David Moyes going back possibly to Everton, this is what Neil Lennon, I asked him what he was going to offer a second time around.
I've got 18 months experience. I know the market, I know the club obviously as well. I know the majority of the players because I worked under them, or they worked under me before, and there's still that real burning hunger, to work again and achieve things. And I'm far better for the experience of having worked at a club like Celtic, where you're used to winning things, and a club like Bolton, where you have to really get your hands dirty and manage through difficult times. So, like I say, I think I'm more rounded as an individual now than I was before.
Is a knowledge of the club, what he's achieved before, what he's achieved as a player as well, is it enough for Celtic to go back to Neil Lennon, or do you think they want a clean sweep?
I just have, unfortunately for Neil, I think it's a clean sweep. I think the fans would want a new face, somebody that they could hang on to. I think they all, no disrespect to what Neil's done there, but Neil actually left because in my opinion, he left because he knew what was happening. He knew what the new format was, and Neil said, well, I've been here 3 or 4 years, I'm going to look for something new. So I would think somebody who's been there before coming in, I don't think that gives the spark to the fans. I think it's somebody in the calibre of the people that you're talking about now
compared Clark's been in his second favourite.
Compared to
with the bookies, not that I notice things like that, but he's been in his come out of nowhere, so there's money going. You cannot take away his credentials as in a coach, and I think it would be.
I think if we're going to pick the bones out of Moyes and Brendan Rodgers and Roy Keane, I think Alan Stubbs fits the bill. I think he fits the bill. No, not because of where he is and he's not done anything. I just think the way he comes across and the way he thinks about the game, I just feel that's an option of not a big option. All I'm saying, if it's not going to be a big option, if you're going to come down the ladder, he's on that ladder underneath them.
I mean, the great thing for me is I'm here to try and argue with you guys and stimulate the conversation. I don't believe for a minute that Alan Stubbs is in the running for the job. He hasn't achieved anything. He's got a long way to go. If he's the cheap option, I get your argument on it, Ruffy. I don't believe for a minute Roy Keane is, because he's failed at numerous clubs, albeit he took Sunderland into the Premiership. And I wonder about his feisty attitude when it comes to dealing with the chief executive. That's what I call two real powerful minds coming together when things are not going well. I think if they've got ambition, remember, Gordon Smith, this is a Celtic board who now are at a critical point where they have to make a decision based on getting bums back on seats. Now, they need to pick someone who's going to excite them.
Well, that's what I think, but I do think, I agree. I think that Neil Lennon would be a candidate. I think he should come into contention for it because he's been there before. He knows the fans appreciate Neil Lennon.
Neil Lennon, yeah.
I think he should be a candidate, and I think he's a strong one. But I also do think that Alan Stubbs can't be ruled out, because I know you said he hasn't achieved anything yet, Peter, but he's, by the end of the season he could have. And who's to say, if Hibs get promotion and won the cup, you say he's
I don't think the fans will
well.
accept it.
I don't know if they would, because
they won't, honestly.
Why would they not?
They just won't.
But the
Why are you going to give one of the biggest jobs in the country to someone who's engineered his way past, what, 4 or 5 games to get to the Scottish Cup final?
Let me try and the point I was making. You mentioned Roy Keane, you mentioned Moyes, you mentioned Brendan Rodgers, Martin O'Neill, and the Northern Ireland manager. Now, if all they Michael, if they 5 go out the window, what are you talking about after that?
Well, I would say this to you,
what
Ruffy,
calibre are you talking about?
I would say this to you. We've already had an exclusive interview on this programme with Martin O'Neill. He said, and I'm quoting you his words, that torch has passed.
Yes.
So he's not going back.
Okay,
That's the first
well, that's
thing.
what I'm saying. Well, I'm knocking these. I'm knocking them all.
I'm just about to tell you, we've had an interview with David Moyes. David Moyes is interested in the job. It's now down to, and I mentioned it to you, Dermot Desmond phoning him and telling him what the ambition is. He's not looking for millions. He wants to add 2 or 3 quality players to what he believes is a quality squad already there. He will empty the freeloaders and the time wasters and build his side, but it's down to the ambition of Dermot Desmond on that. As far as the other candidates are concerned, you know, Mac has already said Brendan Rodgers out of it. Roy Keane, I don't see them going that way. I couldn't rule it out because of his friendship with Dermot Desmond. But of the other candidates that are in there, I think a lot of Celtic fans will look at Neil Lennon and think it's a backward step. Not necessarily. I don't know which way this board's thinking. I don't know what they're thinking as far as how much are they going to pay a manager, how much of a budget they're going to give them to meet the demands of what Rangers are going to offer in the summer. These are all unknowns.
It happened before when John Barnes was there. They had to. The club was going absolute like a rocket back away, and they had, when they get ready to join, they brought in Martin O'Neill. They gave him 20 million to go and spend it. He brought in some decent players and turned the club around and took them to Seville, and you know, he done what he had to do. It's got to happen again, Peter. They've got to give a manager money, and I don't think it's right for somebody like Alan Stubbs to come in. They will not be, you know, Peter Lawwell will rule the roost over them again. I think it's got to be a manager that's got to come in and be strong. But David Moyes will not be told who they're buying. He will not be given. He will not be given them.
That's the question I'm asking.
It's got to be somebody that's strong.
Pierre's already put a case down for all the top candidates saying no.
Well,
and then where does that leave you after that?
There's one thing you've got to say. The bookies are not normally wrong. And for Stevie Clark to come rushing into second favourite, there's money, big money getting put on him. I don't know where that came from. It certainly wasn't mine.
I think
there was big money put on Henrik Larsson in the last round, and all of a sudden out came Ronnie Dyla, and people were going, Ronnie who?
I know.
But Alan Stubbs has been building his career, Peter, and he's coming there.
It's not for the
he's
fans,
taking
honestly.
Hibs forward.
Fans will not accept it.
How can the fans not accept him?
Because he's not getting credentials to take Celtic into Europe.
What's the credentials for that then?
Well, you want a top manager. You want somebody that's done it.
Did David Moyes have the credentials for Man United when he went there?
I like
there's an argument and a half, Gordon.
I like Alan Stubbs. I don't think he's ready for the team like Celtic.
He's not as ready as Ronnie Dyla was.
Well, Ronnie, we all know.
He knows the Scottish game.
They cannot
He's
make
played
another
for
mistake.
Celtic.
Gordon.
He's played for Celtic.
They cannot make another mistake.
I
That's
think
a chance.
I think
That's a chance.
I think the point that you know you could go round in circles with this. When the one point that I think we don't know, which I think will determine this. Let me just tell you, Airdrieonians are 2-0 up in Dunfermline, and Albion Rovers have just scored again. Scott McBride scoring the goal puts Albion Rovers back in front in that match. That's been going one way then the other. The one thing we do not know, Ruffy, is what level the board is at now in their mind as far as the recruitment is concerned, and you know what level the fans' expectations will have to say, I am going to give you, and now they're doing it, this is the point, I am going to give you my season ticket money only on the basis that I think I'm going to buy into it. They haven't had that top tier full in many a long day. Suddenly the Rangers board have said, you know, with various directors, we're all going to put this money in a kitty. We are going to have this kind of budget for Mark Warburton. Now, I would guarantee you in the summer, the Rangers season ticket sales will be up past 40,000. Is that fair?
Yes.
So suddenly, Celtic have a major dilemma here. They know that Rangers will have, Mark Warburton will have some sort of budget. They know that Hearts are already sitting down there. Aberdeen will obviously want to spend. They've got to look and say to themselves, what is the basis of the criteria for success at Celtic? One is Europe in the group stages at least, and two is to meet the challenge of anybody else in the SPFL. Cups are a bonus. That's the only two areas that they actually want to dominate.
I don't think Alan Stubbs is ready for that. I don't think he will put. If he was to go to manager, I don't think that would bring the fans flooding back.
No, I'll tell you another.
My opinion.
I'll tell you another criteria for Celtic buying season tickets, because Rangers will be there, and Celtic like nothing better than challenging Rangers, and that's why.
They've only ever got a team to challenge them.
Well, not that's what I mean, but they want to. That's why they'll buy season tickets, because Rangers are the challenge now.
Enough, I think
Celtic fans will come back because Rangers are there.
I don't think so.
I do.
I'll tell you. Why would you buy into a show that suddenly has a manager that you don't buy into what he is? They have to sell it, Ruffy. They've got to think to themselves. You don't buy a season ticket based on, you know, the fact that Rangers are there. You buy a season ticket on the belief that what the board has done is credible enough to excite you.
But the other thing as well is if the Champions League is where you need to be to get the money, and I think we all know that, hanging about waiting for Davy Moyes to make a decision isn't going to help that scenario. Whoever's going to come in...
Do you honestly think they're hanging about, Ruffy?
No,
seriously, every call for every person they want has been made by now.
Yeah, well, they have to make a decision, because that team as it stands just now is not going to get anywhere near Europe. So the manager who's coming in will have to act very, very quickly to change that team around, and waiting to June isn't going to help matters.
I do not believe for a minute,
rounds
Gordon
are coming
Smith.
around.
Did you wait around when you were looking to appoint the manager, albeit that you and the board made a complete hash of it for the SFA?
It wasn't my decision.
For the first time ever on the programme.
Wasn't my decision.
Write that down. Letters wasn't my decision.
No, what happened was for the first time it happened was Alec McLeish just resigned. He just said he was leaving, and then we had the time to spend to try and look for another manager, and we narrowed it down to different people from the board.
Gordon, just as a matter of interest, who was the top three?
The top four it was.
Top four. Who was it?
Tommy Burns, Graham Souness, George Burley and Matt McGee. That was the four that got narrowed down to.
Why did Souness not get that job then? Out of them, I would have said, you know, Souness would have been...
Just the criteria.
Wouldn't come up here.
Well, that was one of the things. Was one of the problems was that he didn't want to come and live in Scotland, and some of the people on the board who were behind the decision felt the Scotland manager should be living up here.
Yeah,
and yet
currently
he doesn't. Well, that's right. That's what I mean.
But back to the original point. Why would you? You know, I don't think anybody in their right mind is looking and thinking that the board hasn't already started making calls.
Oh, they were looking.
They're not waiting to June.
No.
Yeah, but
they've probably been doing it for quite some time.
What happens if they've made calls and Davy Moyes is the one they want, and he's saying, well, trying to make a decision.
They'll go somewhere else. They'll go somewhere else.
If he is the number, that has been the problem. When it gets out there that there's a number one, and then you start going down to two, and then you go down to three, and then you end up with the fourth choice.
Let me give you the politics of this game, and as far as you know, the newspaper guys are also aware of it. Every journalist and their granny with half a brain will know the process. The call is made. The offer is there. The projection of what they're going to do and the budget that he'll be offered is there. He will then say yes or no within the next couple of weeks. Then they'll announce it once Ronnie Dyler leaves.
Once the league's won.
If David Moyes is the man they want, that call will already have been made.
Yep.
He will be sitting down at the moment and saying, right, are you going to take it? This is what we're offering you, and this is what we want to see as our vision. And he's either going to say yes or no on the basis that we've already discussed it with him. You know, he's had 9 or 10 clubs in the Premier League in England that offered him a job. And what did he tell us about it? He didn't want to go to a club, and I'm only taking him at face value here. He didn't want to go to a club that he couldn't win anything. He wanted a stab at the Champions League, and he obviously,
He
from
was
his
quite
point of
happy to
view,
work with young players.
he wanted to work with young players, and he wanted to say, can I add 3 or 4 quality players? Now, if you listen to the interview, suddenly you say to yourself, well,
Celtic.
you're not going to take the Aston Villa job. You'll never win anything with Aston Villa.
Or Everton.
Or Everton. You're not going to go back that way. Is he going to get the Southampton job if Koeman leaves in the summer? Possibly. He's not going to get the Tottenham job if Maurizio Pochettino moves on. So, you know, you're suddenly looking, you're saying to yourself, this is a limited option for him. You know, unless somebody gets a surprise sacking out of left field that suddenly opens a door from him. There are not many, Frank.
No, there's not.
He could have had the West Ham job, but he was at Real
Everything
Sociedad.
you said there was pointing to Celtic, really. You know, Champions League, want to work with young players.
The winning trophies was the one for me. He has now been at a club, 2 clubs. He now wants to be associated. He wants to be a manager who's associated at a club with cups. And to me, as a manager, that's a big, big thing. That if you haven't done it and you're now saying to yourself, well, what about my CV? Okay, I've been here, I've done it, but I've got nothing again. I've no silverware, I've nothing to back up my managerial history.
I'll tell you right now that Craig Moore, the young player of the year, obviously you mentioned him earlier, he's the young player of the year for Ayr United, has scored in that match, so they are a goal up. And I was just about to tell you that Callum Gallagher has scored St Mirren to have the lead at Dumbarton. And I can tell you, there's a goal at Fir Park, Motherwell 1, Hearts 0, and it's Lionel Ainsworth who's got that goal. It was a brilliant goal there for Motherwell. Just finished it off superbly well, just at the edge of the 18-yard box. I'm just looking right foot into the bottom corner, and that's a good one there. And only someone who would have tremendous insight, Ruffy, would have picked Motherwell to defeat Hearts today. We've now on. Listen, we've been so bad at our predictions. On 3, you've decided to allow him in to make it a 4. I mean, that's ridiculous. We've got Motherwell, Dundee, Albion Rovers, and Peterhead. Who has gone for Albion Rovers?
Me.
Gordon. Dundee.
Me.
And Ruffy, you've gone for Peterhead, who are a goal behind against at home. At home as well. So suddenly it's all slipping away from us, and we're only, what, an hour and a bit into the show. Liverpool 2-0 up in
Queen of South
Newcastle.
are continuing their bad run, Peter. Queen of South are losing at home again, and obviously I felt sorry to get rid of the manager. I thought it was a shame.
Too early?
I thought it was too early. I always thought he was doing a good job, and he lost his key players last season. At the end of the season, he did a great job last year, and in the summer they lost, I think, 2 or 3 of their main players. So it was hard for him to rebuild again, and they were up there challenging for a while in the league. They've slipped back now, but he lost his job. I think it was quite tough.
Yeah, Adam Lallana curls in a beauty to make it 2-0 to Liverpool, and still
he's got them playing decent football now.
Yeah,
I mean, you can see the actual change and the way his philosophy in football, and and he's great at the press conference. I love him at the press conferences. I mean, last week he was having a go. He wouldn't talk about Sturridge. You know, they were asking him about.
Yeah.
And he's saying, no, he says, the team's played well. Why are you talking about one man? And I thought it was, it wasn't even.
Nobody's guaranteed a place.
It wasn't even disrespectful to Sturridge. He was just saying the whole team's played well.
He said nobody's guaranteed a place, which is the right thing for any manager to say. You say you play well enough, you get in the team.
Course.
You're not playing just
doesn't
because
matter
of
if
who
you're
you
an
are.
English player. That's what he was saying, and it's quite right, because it's. He's here to score goals. The midfield is there to get the ball and supply the goals, and the defenders and the goalkeepers supply. I thought it was quite a good press conference, because it's. They were all doing it, and they wanted to talk about the team rather than talk about just the one man.
He's certainly got them going anyway. Liverpool are a better team at the moment, without doubt.
Yeah.
He's got them playing really good stuff and winning. They're winning matches, So
I think that could be Newcastle.
They could be Europa League winners as well.
That could be Newcastle. That could be there.
finish today, you think?
Finished their
Yeah,
third
you
one,
think so, Macca?
Well, depends how the results go tomorrow, but I mean, I think who's Sunderland got tomorrow? Is it Sunderland got
Away.
Man U or Arsenal? So that they're not going to.
Arsenal.
I think they're going to get any
Sunderland
points
away
tomorrow.
to, I think the Sunderland away to Arsenal tomorrow.
Yeah, I don't think they're going to get any points. So that's.
Yep. Queen of the South 0, Livingston 1. Sam Stanton with the goal there to give David Hopkirk's side the lead in that game. So we're keeping you up to date, as you can see right across the screen as well. We'll just flash up the scores every now and then to check your coupon to see how you're doing. We've got Motherwell, Dundee, Albion Rovers and Peterhead. I must just give a mention to someone that Ruffy and myself met in midweek. Big Rangers fan Willie Devlin, who watches the show regularly. Well done, Willie. Great to have a chat with you and your family, and nice that people are watching and coming up and having a chat with us, Ruffy, and telling us that they enjoy the show.
Yes, they were all the good ones. The ones who weren't too happy were obviously the ones who were putting the bets on for day one.
Yes.
They're a bit miffed with the whole situation. We've actually been abandoned by a few people.
I
who are
know,
not.
but it's so nice that he can say that and remember the guy's name that he met. You know, I remember 2 weeks ago there was some guy I met, but I can't remember his name.
Did you ever remember the guy that you met, Ruffy, that you were going to give a mention
but
to?
he appreciated the mention because I bumped into him
And you still
4
don't know
days
his name.
later.
I forgot his name.
No.
Do you remember his name now?
No, I just said, who are you?
And who was he?
Not good. Not good.
Archie's name was.
Can I just say right now, you've made that name up to try and appear as if you're sensitive and caring to the guy who's probably called Jeff.
I went round to his house and made his tea. And
What a lot of nonsense you talk.
Chelsea 2-0 up against Bournemouth now.
Yeah, Chelsea. Antonio Conte will be the manager there in the new season, but I think Goose Hiddink definitely deserves his place in the history of the Blues. And I can tell you it's a goal for Dundee. And just from close range, Kane Hemmings fires the ball into the back of the net. So Dundee have the lead in that game. Partick Thistle 0, Dundee 1. And, well, suddenly, you know, Macca, you know what you're talking about today.
Yeah. I just fancied them. It just phoned me and says, you've got a choice, Thistle or Dundee.
But it's interesting, Macca, because what we're saying is, this is the third time. You know how sometimes the Premier League fixtures work out like this after the split. This is the third time that Thistle have been at home to Dundee in this season. So, but they've lost the other two.
I know they've lost.
Did you know that?
I do my stats. Yeah,
You must have
last night. And
they lost 1-0
that's why I couldn't watch the
4-2.
programme. I was studying.
Well, they drew in Dundee. They actually got a draw in Dundee, but they've lost the 2 home games. So, but the other strange stat, as I say, is the fact that Partick, the only team who Partick haven't beaten now in the games they've got left in the last remaining games of the season in the bottom 6, Dundee are the only team that they haven't beaten. They've beaten them. They haven't lost to any of the other teams that are down that bottom part.
Okay, the goal for Chelsea was scored by Eden Hazard off the back of the opening one, and Bournemouth have just pulled one back. You see how this programme changes, goes one way then the other. Listen, lads, I read something in one of the papers this morning that I looked at it and I thought to myself, wow, what an interesting stat. And it was one player in history that's played in 2 European Championship finals, a World Cup final, a Champions League and a Europa League final, and he's won them all.
Torres.
Yeah, Fernando Torres.
Yeah.
And they're now calling for him to be back in the Spain squad for the European Championships because he scored 5 goals in the last 5 games. It's been unbelievable.
I think it was also a situation, Peter. He was the only player ever to be the current holder of the Champions League and the Europa League at the same time.
Yes.
He was actually because the Champions he just won it, and it was the season before he had won the Champions League.
Yeah.
So he's the only player to hold both at the same
I
time.
honestly thought when he was at Liverpool, he was outstanding. I thought he was totally world class, and he went to Chelsea, and I thought, why? Because it's not the team for him.
50 million. That was why.
Well, I know, but with Gerrard putting supplying the ammunition for him, I thought it was magnificent.
I love the way Gordon just so matter-of-factly went 50 million. Of course, it's 50 million, of course.
I spoke to people at Liverpool, they told me the situation.
No, I know it was a lot of money.
No, what happened, Frank, though,
Did he get a 50 million?
No, this is the God's honest truth. They actually felt that his form had dipped a bit. and they were speaking to him about it, and he hadn't been in as good a form that season.
Yes, that's right.
And while they were having the discussions on that, Chelsea came in offer 50 million, so it was a no-brainer for them. They just went, well, goodbye, good luck.
It
didn't work out for him at Chelsea.
Didn't, well, because it's all wrong. The way Chelsea play is not the way that, Fernando Torres.
He's done okay. He's still not a regular with Atletico.
He's scoring a lot of goals, isn't he?
But he's not in the team all the time, though.
No, he's just slowly but surely, and obviously on the evidence of reading up on him, he's just slowly but surely getting back into the team on a regular basis. He was out for a while, couldn't get his place after injury. Now he's back in, and Atletico have got a chance of winning La Liga.
Yeah, but he's that player, when you come to a big game, a final, he's got to be on the team.
Yeah.
It doesn't matter what he does during it.
As Peter said, his record stands up for what he's won.
I didn't know that.
I mean, that's incredible. Can you imagine showing your family at the end of your career? By the way, every medal in every country. Here you are, and at international level as well. Here they all are in this case, behind that double-plated glass, behind that vault. That's where my medals are kept, because there's no way you would.
I still wouldn't rule them out yet, even in the Spanish league.
Be interested.
You couldn't rule them out yet, Peter, this season. I mean, they're sitting level in points with Barcelona at 1 point ahead of Real Madrid. But Atletico Madrid, we watch them play. They are such a strong side, but they are probably more competitive than they've not got the players in terms of stars that Real have got or Barcelona.
That's why I thought
they're more competitive.
I thought he'd have got offered a job over here.
Simeone, yeah, definitely.
I thought he's such a good manager.
Yes.
He's not got a League Cup medal, has he?
Who?
Torres.
No, but if he ever, and please forgive me for this, Partick Thistle fans, but if he ever gets to that level, I think he'll be about 64 and on a loan deal. But I think he's won every major honour you could wish for, which is
just been told the producer that Real Madrid are actually losing at the moment, so that'd be a bit of a blow for them if they don't win that game, because these teams, Barca had an amazing comeback during the week. Did you see it? They've been such a bad run. I'm thinking, would you ever? I wonder if they'll struggle tonight and they win 8-0.
I know. Real Madrid 2-0 down to Rayo Vallecano at the moment. I can tell you though, strangely enough, as we love talking about Scottish football, English, European football, world football as well, that what was I going to tell you there? Which is, I mean, honestly, well, it was. I've got that many things in my head that I was going to tell you there that it's completely. Yes, I'll tell you what it was. Aston Villa 0, Southampton 2 was one of them. The other one was that Barcelona are actually contemplating, they might be forced into selling Neymar if they can't agree a deal with him. They're negotiating in the summer a new contract for him. He's on £77,000 a week. Now, £77,000 a week. And I think from the gossip and the stories, Manchester United would be prepared to offer him, double that a week.
Yeah.
That sounds like it's probably €100,000, isn't it? And then they put it into pounds, really. €100,000, and I would imagine that might even be net.
Yeah, but Suarez, what is Suarez about more than that? And so will Messi.
Yeah,
so
but that just shows you they don't want to.
Is his contract up?
Well, not only that, they're trying to renegotiate with him, Ruffy.
Extend it.
But the one thing I would say to you is this: they don't want to offer him something that they feel would financially cripple them, and because they don't have a major shirt sponsor. They have one at the moment, but they don't have one secured for next season. So again, I mean, we're talking about levels. What level must they be operating at? When you're sitting there and you're thinking, we're going to pay him, we'll have to pay him double, £77,000 a week.
Yeah.
I mean, can you imagine going to your cash line, Macca, and hitting in the 4 digits and thinking, wow, there's another 77,000. No, isn't that magnificent?
Every week.
Yeah, absolutely. You certainly wouldn't be chatting to us three. That's
just the mind boggles, doesn't it? I mean, some of the money that people are on. I mean, look at Andy Carroll. It's 130 grand. He scored in the last 5 games, but now he's starting to show. But it's only took him 3 years.
Yeah.
He's on 130 grand.
What would his transfer fees be?
Oh,
Carroll.
Fortunes.
Well, it was 30. I don't know what he went to West Ham, but he went 35 to Liverpool. But he hadn't been transferred before that.
20 grand.
I'll tell you,
first
15
transfer.
million to West Ham. 15 million.
15?
Isn't it amazing that the most that any Scottish club will pay is a ceiling limit, possibly at Celtic, of what, 30,000 a week?
Yeah.
Just shows you the gap. Just shows you the gap and how difficult it is for clubs like Celtic and, may I add, all the other Scottish clubs to try and even get into a group stage at European football.
That's the problem, Peter. That's why, like say, even Celtic being the top paying team cannot even compete now for Premier League
No, it
players in
can't.
England.
You can't
They're
do it.
even struggling to compete with championship clubs
You know.
down
Yeah.
the south because of the money that's getting
Yeah,
paid.
no one of the things that's
They've not brought in for me, Celtic have not brought in a shirt seller, if you like, somebody that the fans will go and buy the shirt. And,
Yeah.
The thing
You
that
know,
I've
they've not done
always
it for a long
found
time.
difficult with Celtic, and I know it's difficult to identify players and get them on the right wage bracket, but when you see Celtic going away and playing these Europa Cup teams and Champions League team, and particularly, I know money comes into the Russian teams and that, they've all got Brazilians. You know what I mean? Some of the teams have got 2 or 3 Brazilians. How can they know it? I know
I'll tell you
I know
what.
they tried to identify
Celtic had a
one,
Brazilian.
but never one.
I'll
tell you what,
They can't get a work
you
permit.
need a work permit. You need to
You need a work
suggest
permit.
you need to put to a panel that
know,
this player has a
all you
sufficient
need,
amount
yeah.
of caps that he will bring value to the
If
country.
he's not got the caps,
Some
you've
of
got
the
to say
ones
he's
that
got
I've
the
been
future.
seeing with other teams
Because they're
have
allowing them in.
No, for what it is
got
with
British-
certain countries, what the regulation is, you have to the player has to have played 75%
Yes.
of his international
Yes.
matches over the last 2 years.
Yeah.
Now Celtic could not afford to sign a regular in the Brazilian team, so that means they
Except
can't.
they have to be in the.
They can't bring in a Brazilian player. They could get a player in if
They can bring him in
comply
if they, go
with
and,
the cap.
if they go and argue
Yes.
the case that this young boy or young guy is going to be
Yes.
future on that level if they get
Yeah,
permission.
what happens then? It goes to an appeal
Yeah, yeah.
committee to decide.
Let's maybe Brazil wasn't the right team to use.
Yeah.
Other teams, other South American
If you could
teams.
just use the team that you're actually thinking about then, rather than one that
You see these teams with players and they go, wow,
Well, that's
where
what
did they identify them from?
especially this year, Peter, in the Europa Cup. I'm thinking, you know, there's Switzerland and all that player.
Yeah.
You know, and you're thinking, how is this? How have they got better players than what Celtic has?
Cowdenbeath 1 at Stenhousemuir 0. Can I just say, at this moment in time, there's something special that I want to mention to Ruffy. What were you doing 35 years ago this week? 35 years ago, you were involved in something mega.
1981. That is roughly to help you.
1981,
Nineteen-
just before we went to Spain.
Yes, you were involved in something massive. Now,
I know.
I'm sure you don't.
I think I know.
I hope it's
on a
something to
second.
do with football.
Yes, yes, it was something to do with football. But I would also say, as a boy at school, I was looking on. I didn't know you, but I looked and I thought, wow. You know, when I was reading about it in the papers, I thought, wow, this is unbelievable. Alan Ruff, and I was very impressed. That's all I'm saying to you. 35 years ago, this very week.
You were very impressed. It's not what I was thinking then.
Yeah.
Was that when you get your new contract, 77,000 a week?
No, it certainly was not. No,
Yeah.
77 quid.
Pound a week.
No, it was just before we went to Spain.
Yes.
Anfield. No.
You think it was Anfield?
No,
No.
not Anfield.
Today is the 35th anniversary of the release of Gregory's Girl.
There you go. I was going to say that. I was going to say
Well,
and I thought, no, it can't
as
be.
you all know, I had a hand in that film.
Yes, you did, Ruffy.
Because I assist, let me get it on record, I assisted with the football aspect of that
I know.
film.
What did you have to do, Ruffy? As I can tell you now, it's Aston Villa have got to go back, and Peterhead are 2-0 down to Ayr United.
Well, D Hepburn was the lead.
Yeah, hold on a second. Hold on a second. Save the Gregory's Girl story for the
okay.
second half. Let's go to Firhill. Laura Brannan half time.
Yeah, it's half time here at Firhill, and the score is Partick Thistle 0, Dundee 1. The difference coming on the 35th minute. Paul McGinn running to the byline, sending in a low cross, and it was Kane Hemmings, Dundee's top goal scorer of the season so far, from about 2 yards out, slamming home. It came against a run of play, but that was Kane Hemmings' 24th of the season so far, and his 5th against Partick Thistle. It does also stretch Thistle's competitive run for not scoring in the first half to 8 games now. The last time they did that was in March. So half time here as the teams go into the break at Firhill. It's Partick Thistle 0, Dundee 1.
Oh, it's a good scoreline for the Dens Park men. They're getting ever closer to half time across the country, but that goal there from Kane Hemmings, the difference, will be going to Fir Park shortly as well. Where again, maybe Hearts will have quite a feisty half-time team talk from Robbie Nielsen, Macca.
Well, yeah, he'll have to, because it's one of these situations that Motherwell will want to hold on to it. But Mark's got a decision now. Do you sit with the 1-0 and sit on it, try and keep that, or do you go for it? And I would think the Motherwell fans will want him to go for it and take the game to Hearts, because I think if Hearts open up and the game opens up, I don't know whether Hearts will want it or not. I really don't. If they're 1-0 down at the moment at Fir Park, it's not a place that you want to go and get into a battle. You want to play foot.
Although to be fair, Mark, if you keep talking, we won't be able to go to Fir Park. so let's go there now.
Half time at Fir Park. It's Motherwell 1, Hearts 0. Lionel Ainsworth's third goal of the season has given Mark McGee's men the advantage. It's been a match of few chances, but Ainsworth took his on 29 minutes, driving into the box and from the edge of the box hitting a low right foot shot that was beyond Neil Alexander. Hearts with work to do to get back into this. Half time, it's Motherwell 1, Hearts 0.
There will be a shock to Robbie Nielsen's men, as Macca was mentioning there. Chris Duggan has the only goal of the game. Queen's Park 1, Clyde 0. That could be a wee shock. The big decision we've got in the second half of the programme as well, when the second half kicks off, is whether we actually rip our predictions up for this week as well, because we're looking good for Motherwell, we're certainly looking good for Dundee, we're almost certainly looking good for Albion Rovers, but how anybody could have accepted a fourth bet of Peterhead against Ayr United escapes me, Ruffy, because it looks as if we've been sunk by that bet.
Yeah, and unfortunately it's my choice, which is a bit of a nightmare. I thought they would have put up a better show than that, and yeah, it's always one, isn't it?
Yeah,
they've had 4 defeats in a row, Peter.
Yeah.
This will be 5 if they get beat today.
And that's the great
playing
thing. Really well. They're doing all right.
Do you know what that tells me, Gordon? It's a complete lack of preparation on his part. You wanted to sum it up. It's let's not look at the forum books. Let's not buy the video or the DVD for Moneyball and look at the stats. But the second half could put us a fight back. Who knows? Quickly get the kettle on. Get ready for your second cup of tea. Dunking the biscuit in. Is your team going to fight back, or is your team going to build on the lead in the second half? Join Alan Roth, Gordon Smith, Frank McAvenny and myself, because we will have more and the second half kickoffs in all the football across Great Britain. Ruffy's Saturday Football Show. Alan Ruff, Gordon Smith and Frank McAvenny are with me, Peter Martin. Over the course of the 4 hours, we'll keep you right up to date with the goals as they hit the back of the net right across the country in the Premiership, Championship, League One and League Two in Scotland, and also down south in the Barclays Premier League. And I can tell you, Rangers, the party has already started in earnest. They were presented with the Championship trophy after the 1-1 draw with Alloa. 50,000 fans celebrated. I think there were only 50 Alloa fans there, and I don't think they were too bothered about the party celebrations. They were delighted with a point in the Premiership. Here are the half-time scores for you to look over. St Johnstone 3, Aberdeen 0 from last night. Motherwell 1, Hearts 0. Partick Thistle 0, Dundee 1, and of course the 3 games we will discuss on the Sunday: Inverness against Kilmarnock, Celtic Ross County and Dundee United Hamilton coming up. Into the Championship, and just to confirm, Rangers 1, Alloa 1 was the 12:30 kick-off. Dumbarton 1, St Mirren 1, Morton 0, Hibernian 0, and Queen of the South 0, Livingston 1. Wraith Rovers against Falkirk is a 5:15 kick-off. League One in Scotland, it's Airdrieonians 3, Dunfermline 0, Albion Rovers 2, Forfar 1, Brecon City 0, Stranraer 0, Cowdenbeath 1, Stenhousemuir 0, and Peterhead 0, Ayr United 2. Into Scottish League 2, Arbroath 0, Montrose 0, Berwick Rangers 0, East Fife 0, East Stirlingshire 0, Elgin City 2, Queen's Park 1, Clyde 0, and Stirling Albion 1, Annan Athletic 0. In the Barclays Premier League this afternoon, one early kick-off: Manchester City 4, Stoke City 0. It's Aston Villa 1, Southampton 2, Bournemouth 1, Chelsea 2, and Liverpool 2, Newcastle 0. So quite a few little surprises there from some of the scores coming in. Dumbarton St Mirren must have been a late kick-off there. There was a late equaliser for Dumbarton, Gordon Smith.
Yeah, they just it was scored. We thought it was getting to half-time, but there was for some reason the game was about 10 minutes slower than starting than all the other games about. We don't understand why that was the case, but St Mirren had taken an early lead, and we felt it was running out to half-time, but just before half-time, and I think they're still playing the injury time there before the game hasn't stopped yet, and Dumbarton got that equaliser. So it'd be a tough game. I thought St Mirren would win that game, to be honest with you, but Dumbarton, they've got a fight in their hands. Dumbarton, obviously they're trying to stay away from Livingston, who are winning at the moment at Queen of the South. Dumbarton want to try and pick up some points just to make sure they're not getting dragged into that playoff spot.
That's a half-time now. It'd be interesting to find out why they started 10 minutes after everyone else.
Yeah, absolutely. Callum Gallagher had given St Mirren the lead, and I think it's an own goal in the equaliser in that match. Just trying to confirm the goal scorer for you, but it looks as if Docherty overlapping, just putting the ball into the box, and it took a deflection going into the St Mirren net. So it's 1-1, and certainly right on the stroke of half time, Alec Ray will not be a happy man with the manner of that goal. So second half only moments away. We'll have a quick break. We'll get into the second half. We'll hear Ruffy's story about Gregory's girl. What more could you ask for? And we'll argue with Frank McAvenny about certain players he thinks should be sold from certain clubs in Scotland. Can't wait to have a good old ding dong with Macca. Welcome back to Peter and Ruffy's Saturday Football Show. We're heading to the Championship. Quick half-time report from Derek Clark, Morton Hibernian.
Half-time at Capital. What's been the first half here? It's still goalless between Morton and Hibernian. The home side probably have had the better of the chances. Declan McManus with a close range header. 6 minutes before the break, he should have really hit the target, but he failed to connect properly, and the ball flew aimlessly wide. For the visitors, their only real chance fell to Liam Henderson. Played through in 15 minutes, in on goal, but he lifted the ball over Derek Gaston and over the bar in the process. A pretty poor first 45. Here's hoping we get more chances in the second period. Half-time at Capello, Morton 0, Hibs 0.
Okay, 0-0 there. Still waiting on a chance of note. But what did you make? Were you happy with what you witnessed from Hibs against Rangers in midweek as well, Ruffy?
Yeah, I thought it 3-1. I thought they were playing good football. There was some crazy goals in that game as well. But no, I think they showed the form that they were showing midway through the season until they went a wee bit cold. But certainly that result will give them the spur. You would think it would give them the spur to go on and win the important games. I don't think there's any guarantee that Falkirk will go up to Raith Rovers and take something out of that game. Raith Rovers have got something going for them as well, so they really need to get something out of that Morton game today.
So no goals at the moment. Thank you very much to everyone for taking the trouble to send us your messages on facebook.com/Peter and Ruffy, and some of the messages on Twitter as well, at Peter and Ruffy on Twitter. We'll be reading a few of them out in the second half of the programme. As I look right now, second half getting underway across most of the country, just seeing a few players coming out a little later. Dumbarton St Mirren will kick off a little later. That was just basically down to traffic trying to get to the ground, Gordon, on a day like today, which is always a healthy sign.
It's a healthy sign. Certainly if the traffic was actually the ones that were going to the match and not just going to the town centre in Dumbarton, because you've got to go through the high street, the main street, haven't you, to get to the stadium there, so that's maybe a lot of shoppers are out.
I would think it'd be people going over the Erskine Bridge going to Loch Lomond for the day.
Yeah.
Why would you think that?
Yeah. Is there any chance you could put a positive spin on it, Ruffy, for a football sense?
There might also been people leaving, maybe people leaving Ibrox as well from after the game there.
Yep, could be a good point.
Potential to hold up.
Could be all of them, and the good thing is we don't know the reason other than heavy traffic. George Haldane has said, Peter, Alan Stubbs, 2 cup finals, 1 lost, 1 to go. I agree with you. Alan Stubbs is not ready for the kind of job that you guys are talking about. As a Hibs fan, I feel Stubbs is a little too soft with the players, and he wouldn't be any good at Celtic. It won't happen, and we would be gutted. It just won't happen.
So he's saying it won't happen. He doesn't want to lose them. That's what he's saying.
No, well, but I think what he's saying is he's not up for the job, basically. He's doing a wonderful job at Hibs, but to go to a club like Celtic is a big step up.
Yeah.
And I don't think Alan's ready for it. I'm not saying he'll not be, but he's just came out of Everton, reserves are under 21s or under 17s. He's took over Hibs. He's done a great job. He's been hot and cold.
Yeah.
I think he will be, once he cuts his teeth in management, I think he could be.
Had Billy McNeil won anything when he went to Celtic as manager?
He knew the club inside out, didn't he?
Gordon, I have to say to you, you're pulling out some unbelievable arguments based on different times, different budgets, a totally different moment where Rangers and Celtic were signing Scottish players, and then suddenly when Billy McNeil came back a second time, they were facing a Rangers side buying English players who couldn't play in Europe, so decided to come up to Scotland.
But the first time he get the job, he'd never won anything.
You're saying that about Celtic. If it was Rangers, you wouldn't want Alan Stubbs to get the job. I mean, it's like you've just said that you wanted, you think John Collins should have been the manager at the end of the season, which I don't agree, and the fans wouldn't accept that. So I know you're flinging names and just thinking that's what happens in football. But I just don't think John Collins would be accepted. And I don't think Alan Stubbs will. It's just the fans wouldn't accept him.
Oh, listen,
who has no experience whatsoever.
The great thing is, Gordon has got an opinion on certain players, and obviously putting a case and a strong case for why would you not give it to this person. There is you're absolutely right. There's no logic in football.
No.
You know, the mere fact that some people are actually looking and thinking to themselves, well, Roy Keane would be a good bet, when some people in football would look and go, really?
Yeah, I know.
You know, so.
But what I'm saying to you is just in terms of the argument. The argument is no, he shouldn't get the job because he's never won anything.
No.
He's been in a cup final, and I think, well, okay. So if you've never won anything,
I think he's just not
you should
ready
be a
for it.
manager.
That's what I mean.
That's different.
It's a
but
massive
that doesn't
job.
go along with the argument. That's totally different argument and aspect from saying that he shouldn't get it because he's not won anything.
No,
because if you do that, then you go along with a lot of managers who went to clubs who hadn't won anything.
No,
and did very well.
But I think your Billy McNeil argument. I think Billy McNeil was one of those people at the time that I think the Celtic fans would have been more than happy to see a legend back there who, let me be blunt with you, was doing a very good job at Aberdeen.
Yeah.
So he certainly had, experience of playing at the absolute highest level. This question coming up, the answer to it will be provided by the Celtic board, all about ambition. It's all about ambition. It's what level they see the next manager coming in. As Ruffy mentioned, is he, and Mac has highlighted as well, is the next Celtic manager going to be strong enough to be able to go into meetings with the board and say, this is the way ahead, these are the players I want, and I don't want any interference whatsoever. I will run the club. That's what Martin O'Neill did in 2000. May I suggest to you right now, I don't know if the other two managers since then have been able to do that with any great conviction. And that's no disrespect, I'm just giving you my observation of it.
Yeah.
That's perhaps correct, but then you don't know whether the people I've been talking about here are capable of going in and saying the very same thing. I'll take the job if I've got total control. Who's to say they won't be able to do that?
Well, I don't. Well, because you've got to understand the fans as well. You've got to say the fans, and although John played for the club now, I don't think the fans would accept Ronnie's understudy taking over. I just don't. I got on well with John, but I don't think the fans would accept John Collins taking over, because I think everyone agrees. Well, everyone likes Ronnie.
Yeah.
He's not up for the job. He's come out and said that he's not up for the job, and everyone will give him a huge cheer to go, because he's come out and said he's one of these guys that he's come out and he's been honest with everybody, whether he's been told to say it or not. But I think he's just been out his depth. And people have accepted that and says, look, you're out your depth. Thanks for giving us 2 league titles, but, time to go. And I don't think John Collins is good enough either to take a club at Celtic.
Yeah, and another thing about it as well is sometimes you can be a strong-willed person, but if you're climbing the ladder and trying to impress people, sometimes your personality can't be as strong because you're desperate to get a job.
Yeah.
There are lots of things that I think are in this mix here. It's so difficult. I think after Ali McCoist, there was a period where Rangers had to look and say, listen, we are picking this man that not too many of us knew a lot about, Martin Robertson. We are picking this man because we believe he will be able to do this with the youth, build the structure of the club, play football a certain way, buy into it. Give him the chance. They've given him the chance, and he's come through and he's delivered in the championship. He will now, and we're all talking about levels here, he will now face a bigger challenge now, where I think he'll be under even closer scrutiny. If he thinks there's pressure now, wait till next season. And the other one is, again, I genuinely am intrigued to find out 2 major things here. One, what level Celtic are operating at with their next manager appointment, and 2, I think it's an exciting period for Scottish football to find out how other clubs are going to respond. I hope they don't respond by doing what Kilmarnock clearly have done at the moment, paying too much in wages, and suddenly your old club, Gordon, has announced just sort of £725,000 worth of losses. You don't want the clubs to go back down chasing clubs that they can ill afford to chase.
Yeah, I was totally shocked by that, because Kilmarnock had also had a lot of their debt wiped out of late. And then you think that, they'd be running a very, very sensible economic manner, and yet it doesn't seem to be the case, because as I mentioned before, they obviously got a transfer fee in January for Muirhead, so that was money. What would the debt have been the loss would have been if Muirhead's money hadn't come in. So, but I think that as I said to you before, every managerial appointment is like it's a chemical reaction with a group of players. You can never tell who's going to be a manager, who isn't. I'll give you another name who had never won anything when he became Porto manager. It was Mr. Mourinho. Had never even been a manager in his career, and he wins the Europa League, as UEFA Cup it was called at that time, and the Champions League.
Now,
And
I'm not saying that these guys wouldn't be good managers, but I don't think they'll get the chance. I don't, in my personal opinion, I don't think they two should be in the running for the Celtic manager.
Gordon, remember the other thing about it as well is we've got an hour and 50 minutes of this show to go. If you're going to run through 300 managers that you think disproves the point, you're wasting your time.
I know.
I've only got another 150 to go.
Yeah, absolutely. But every 150 you've got, there are 300 who will come into the category who are clearly not up to the job. And and there are various reasons why certain people will be taken out of the equation. Neil Lennon can say it, he might be in the running. But I think what Mac is offering is an observation, and Ruffy as well, is here's why that person won't get it. Here's why that person won't get it. Will these people suddenly excite the Celtic fans to go, there's your money? I mean, if they suddenly the next month turn around and go, here's Henrik Larsson, everybody will go crazy. But I would look at it as a journalist and go, he hasn't achieved anything.
No, but what you're saying is, but that's not the point. You're saying that if they're going to appoint on the basis of somebody that would sell season tickets, Henrik Larsson has probably got a great chance of getting the job then.
Listen, if they're going to look at it, absolutely. Sometimes the illogical choice is just a financial based one. They think, okay, we're going to give him the job. We would look at it and say, he hasn't got the criteria. The reason why I think David Moyes is one of the red-hot favourites for it is he's been in the top league with a tight budget and kept Everton in it.
Yeah, he did, but he didn't do it at Man United. But just as I mentioned,
he done better than Van Gaal at Man United.
Could you just tear that coupon up,
record.
Peter? See the coupon there? Could you tear it up, please?
3-0.
Well done. He's got a better record at Man United than Van Gaal.
Yeah.
And he spent, the money that he spent. So David was. Listen,
I think he's a top-class manager, but it didn't work out for him because I say, who can tell? Who can tell who's going to do well at a club? You can't.
You can't, because Walter Smith was operating under a very tight and difficult budget at Everton, and suddenly David Moyes came in and offered something different again.
That's right.
In my opinion, it's a match made in heaven. He's desperate to get his credentials back up to the top. He's desperate to get in the Champions League. Try his luck. Celtic need someone to take them there, and I think it's a match made in heaven. Whether it happens or not, as I say, it's all about opinions.
Here, do you want another shock? Vincent Berry scored for Queen's Park. There's 2-0 up on Clyde. That division is taking a good few twists and turns. I'm just looking here. East Fife, Clyde, Queen's Park. Gus is making a charge, isn't he?
It's working out well for them, Peter, because Annan are losing just now at the moment as well. That's the top four. You've just mentioned there, East Fife, but Queen's Park looks like if they beat Clyde today, they go second spot, so they'll be delighted with that, because that'll mean that that puts obviously Annan and Clyde back into that area where they need to have the game and play their game first. So that's looking good for obviously Queen's Park today for Gus.
Yeah, it's been one of those divisions, Ruffy, where suddenly you see a team. I mean, Clyde at one point were out of the top four, then made a little surge. Queen's Park were out of it, and then suddenly hit a bit of form. I suppose this is the time to hit the form. And that's a great result if it turns out that way for Queen's Park.
Yeah, but every manager to a man that we've had in the show has said there is no team in that division any better than the others. All the players are of equal ability. There's nobody miles ahead of anybody else, and it's on the day. It's if your 11 players can turn up and produce the goods on any specific day, you'll get a good result, and that's what's been happening all the way through this league.
I wasn't taking into account either that Elgin, Peter, are sitting fifth at the moment, and they're winning just now away at Eastland. So if they actually win too, they've got the same points as Queen's Park, Clyde, as well. I think, haven't they? Queen's Park and Annan.
So they'll be on.
Eldo would jump into third place then, wouldn't they?
Yes, but Clyde, Queen's Park would move into second place. Clyde would drop into third, with obviously Annan.
No, Elgin would go above.
Yeah, Elgin would go just behind Queen's Park.
Yeah, Elgin would go third in goal difference.
Yes.
And Clyde would then be fourth, and it would be Annan that would drop out if these end up the results today. It's unbelievable how it changes all the time.
Yeah. David Amu has come on for Aidan Nesbitt. I have to say that the game there, 3-0 Peterhead against Ayr United. Jordan Preston scoring that third goal there. I mean, again, Macca, you can't second. Who would bet on any of the lower divisions? Because Peterhead have been going great guns, and suddenly they've been on the end of a couple of spankings lately.
Yeah, I certainly wouldn't have took Peterhead to beat Ayr United. You know, I just wouldn't have done it.
Yeah.
You know, anyone common sense. Just
Yeah.
Sorry, Alan.
Well, Ayr actually go above them now. The Ayr have caught them, haven't they, Peter? And I think they go above them.
Yeah.
If Ayr win this game, which it looks like they're doing, we've torn the coupon up anyway. So.
It's gone. If they win 4-3, I'm sorry, lads. It's gone anyway. Listen, Macca, we're going to put out a tweet naming all the players that you would let go. Because you're obviously thinking of a summer clear out for some of the players. That give me your top 10 players that are leaving.
Top 10? Well, top 10, I'll go through them.
Bayata's gone.
Ambrose. Kazim Richard, that's the easy one. Kazim Richard, Carlton Cole, Lustig finished. Izagiri, Johansson, and I would get rid of Gary Mackay-Stevens, Scott Allen I would possibly keep. Christie, I don't think Ryan's at this stage yet that Celtic's his club. I just don't think he's there yet. Whether a manager would keep him, I don't know. But there's so much dead wood there.
Yeah. Okay. A great chance for Motherwell. Could have been 2-0 there. Great chance for Louis Moult, and he's got it on his right foot. I'm just looking there. He's 1-on-1. And he's just hit the inside of the post there, Ruffy. I mean, look at it from the other angle in the replay. Should have scored there.
Yeah, he's got to stick them away. You know, that's a bad miss. He might regret that later on.
Yeah, absolutely. Just cutting edge punditry from Ruffy there.
Well, who are you going to add to?
James Forrest.
Oh yeah, I forgot
And
Forrest.
Chris
But
Commons.
Do you know what I forgot?
And Chris Commons in his final
Yeah,
year.
I
you
think
dumped
Chris
him.
Commons has been there too long.
I think he's a
needs
big
to
game
move
player,
on. I
but
know he's a
Forrest,
big game
yes.
player, but I think-
forgot Forrest is still there. That's how.
Yeah. Do you dump players if they've been there too long?
No, I think
Because I can remember walking past Mary Hill and they went, Ruff's been here too long. Any chance of getting
that was me that said that.
Yeah.
See, the thing I'm going to be, the jersey and all that, people say they're not good enough for Celtic, not good enough for us. Gary Mackay-Stevens, I know people say, well, all the big games he's not produced. He's had the chance in all the big games. He said they gave him the opportunity and he's not stand up. Now, I was talking to a few people in football and I'm saying, you know, when they say you've got to be strong, it's not strong as in the tackle and all that. You've got to be strong and want the ball, and when it comes, hold it. And all I see Gary Mackay-Stevens is try to flick it. So he doesn't want anyone coming through him from behind, and that's when you've got to be strong.
It was interesting for me when I saw an article for the boy Armstrong, and his first thing he said was it's very difficult coming to a club like Dundee United to Celtic and having to handle the pressure. Now that's him saying that. I think he's done all right.
I think he's done all right, yeah.
But if he's saying that, what's the boy Mackay-Stevens thinking? You know, he must be thinking the same as well. And I just think, unfortunately, he's one of these players who's went to an old firm team and can't hack it. Not because he's ability or anything like that. He just can't handle
I think
everything
I think he's a better player than Gary Mackay-Stevens. Armstrong,
yeah. But I think he's just unfortunate. He's in that environment, and the demands of coming from Dundee United to Celtic outweigh everything. And it's just unfortunate. He'd probably go somewhere else, into the Championship or something.
So he's going to go as well then, you're saying,
Yeah, whatever.
But there's another point I would make though. What if the manager comes in?
He's not going to keep in. He's not going to keep Kazim Richard, Carlton Cole. He's not going to keep
more. No, but there'll be some players, but there'll be other ones who maybe you think, well, they've not done it, but another manager comes in and these players are suddenly start playing a lot better.
They won't.
Queen of the South have equalised. That goal coming in from Derek Lyle from the penalty spot. Macca, what do you make of it? Derek Lyle scores goals for fun.
Well, he's been scoring goals for fun recently, but he's hit one against my club. I'm not happy about it, but never mind.
And Dumbarton have gone ahead against St Mirren as well.
That's what I'm just watching there. Sorry, Peter, I was just watching that. I've got a wee bet on the sideline, and I had St Mirren and Dundee, and I'm just not happy with my old club.
No.
I'm not happy with my old
Yep,
club.
Albion Rovers 2, 4 for Athletic 2. Ryan with the penalty on the hour. Queen's Park 2, Clyde 1. Ruffy, the fight back is on from Barry Ferguson's side.
Yeah, and Gus will be desperate to try and hang on to that. They've been losing goals late on in the last couple of months, and they need 3 points today, as Gordon was saying, going through all the permutations, everything else, but 3 points would keep them up there.
Yeah,
Clyde
Gary
have done it a few
Fleming
times,
scoring the
haven't
goal.
they?
Yeah.
Clyde have came when the 2 goals down, they came back and
Yeah.
got results. I mean,
Yep.
you wouldn't want to keep doing that. It's odds law that you're going to lose a lot of them.
Yeah, Gary Fleming scoring the goal for Dumbarton. Just looking at that Queen's Park Clyde game, I hope there's not any major complaints, Ruffy, on the state of the pitch. You know, I mean, I wouldn't want it relayed again, surely, for the Scottish Cup final.
No, I thought it looked good. I have to say, I thought Ibrox looked tremendous today.
Yeah,
The
did
ground
look
staff looked absolutely, for an end of the season game, it looked magnificent.
Yep, absolutely. Okay, goals flying in across the country. We'll keep you right up to date with them. Ruffy, give us the 35th anniversary story of Gregory's Girl. How were you involved in that movie?
There was obviously a part of football in that movie, and Gordon St Clair and Dee Hepburn needed to go to a football ground to get some experience of dribbling. Basically, that was it. There was a scene when the two of them, she had to dribble in and out a cone to get into the team. And she came up to Firhill, and I just happened to be there that day, and I helped the both of them, show them how to header a ball and how to dribble.
Yeah, just Dee Hepburn and John Gordon Sinclair.
Yeah, they were the two main parts of the scene, the Pacific scene.
Did she get into the team?
I think she did get into the team in the film.
Did she?
Yeah,
In the
I
film,
think she
okay.
did.
Yeah,
Because he was a goalkeeper, he needed some
Was she a
experience.
striker?
Did you?
No, she was just an outfield player. That Gordon Sinclair was a goalkeeper, so I had to sort of show him, you know, what would make him try and look as if he knew what he was doing in the goals.
Yeah.
But
And
when
how
I saw the
was
film, it
was he
never
good?
happened.
Never
No, it
happened.
never
Didn't
happened.
happen.
It just
No.
was the...
Okay, I can't tell you what a chance for Motherwell. That is a sitter. Scott McDonald, dispossessed Boivin. He's on the edge of the box. All he has to do is pick his spot. He's tried to curl
he's
it, and
blazed
it's
it.
over the top of the bar. What a chance, Macca. Look at that.
What a
What would you
chance.
do there? You would have hit that
You
low.
would put money on Scott McDonald going for there, but it just goes to show coming into the season, grounds are getting, hard and they're anxious now, so he'd have wanted to put that. I'd have put money on Scott McDonald scoring that.
I could have sealed it for
I
Motherwell,
could have
couldn't
sealed it. Could have sealed it. I'd have put money on that.
Yep, absolutely. So there you have it. There's your Gregory's Girl story.
That's good as what I thought it was going to be.
Yeah, absolutely. And were you in all of the stars of it, Ruffy?
Well, they weren't actually stars then. They were just sort of up-and-coming stars.
One of them was a star. One of them was a
Was
star,
Gordon?
and one of them was also one of the people that, as a schoolboy, I thought if you were going to put a poster on your wall, she certainly would be up there on the
Yes.
wall. Claire Grogan.
Yes.
She was in Altered Images at the time, Ruffy.
Yes, she was, but I don't think she had any part in the football scenes.
Did you meet her at all?
Yes, I did once. I did once, but she had nothing to do with the football. So,
Okay.
that was it. Basically, that was it.
A nice girl.
Brilliant,
Lovely
girl. Great
girls.
album, brilliant songs, and actually, would you believe it, Ruffy, a couple of years ago, Altered Images got back together and did a
Comeback.
concert, and
Did they?
she was still fantastic.
Yeah,
Ah,
still
good.
look great.
So there you are. Wee bit of pop music thrown in there as well.
Absolutely,
It's just
yeah.
outrageous. And I tell you, what a chance for Hearts. Almost the equaliser. Nicholson, corner, into the box. There's Patterson. Oh, what a volley that is. And look at the save. Great save there, Ruffy.
Yeah.
That, I mean, you must be happy with that. That's called
Yeah.
one of those reactionary saves.
Yeah, and obviously he's been waiting his chance. A young lad who was on the verge of the Scotland squad for a while there, then dropped right out of the scene and come back in again. But obviously the present goalkeeper looks as if he's going to go back to Middlesbrough. So I suppose Mark has got to see what he can do in the team, and he looks as if he's done well.
Matthias Pogba has come on for Ryan Edwards over at Firhill.
Talking about goalkeepers, do we know if Hibs keeper kept his place?
That's a good
it
point,
today?
yeah.
Did they
yeah.
keep it? Did we know?
Oh.
Remember the old boy who didn't know was a goalkeeper?
No, Mark Oxley was in midweek. And I can tell you, it's Liverpool 2, Newcastle
that's all
United 2.
changes now.
After
Wow.
that, well, that is a major shock
That's
because Papa Cisse had managed to get one back for Newcastle. But, strangely enough, the comeback king himself there.
After all the praise we gave Liverpool,
back in it.
Yeah, we gave a lot of praise to Liverpool as well. What a great season they've had, great performances. But Newcastle, in fairness to them, to be 2-0 down at Anfield and come back is good performance.
Yep, absolutely. Okay, and what were you saying there, Mark?
About the keeper, did he keep his place
No,
after
he
the
didn't.
performance?
He was dropped for Oxley.
He was dropped, yeah.
So
He was
Oxley
dropped
back
and
in.
sent away to the health farm
Yeah.
for the fortnight.
For the 47th time.
Geordie Reid has said, I'm looking at the tweet, yes, I tell you, it's an equaliser for Partick Thistle. Osman just throwing that ball into the box, and there's your man again. Chris Doolan scores again to get that vital equaliser for Partick Thistle. So, 1-1, Ruffy.
Yeah, I have to ask Alan Archibald why, on numerous occasions, he puts Chris on the bench. 9 times out of 10 he's coming on and scoring goals, and there must be a reason for it. Obviously, maybe it's the formation that he's playing. He sees him better coming on when the game's maybe opened up a wee bit, and he's got that wee 10-yard sharpness in the box. But yeah, he's been fantastic for them.
Yep, Connor and Geordie Reid and also Stephen have said spot on with all the players that Macca wants to get rid of, except young Christie, who hasn't had a chance,
He's not had a chance
and should stay. And Geordie said that, and so does Connor as well. Thank you very much to all you guys for reacting to what Macca had to say. He's given a list out of players that he thinks will move on in the summer. Obviously, nobody reacting to Carlton Cole and Colin Kazim Richards, but the rest of them, they're certainly giving us their thoughts on it. You can give us the thoughts of you and your mates on who you think will be the next Celtic manager. Everybody's having a say. It's the hot topic, I can tell you. Partick Thistle 1, Dundee 1, Queen of the South 2, Livingston 1. If you have just joined us, Rangers picked up the championship trophy on a day of celebration at Ibrox. Full to the gunnels, with Rangers fans delighted that the final phase has been completed. They'll be heading to the Premiership, Gordon.
Yeah, that's the thing. It was, the league title was sewn up pretty early, and Rangers have been impressive over the season, without doubt. And today wasn't one of their better performances. I mean, Alloa, you got to give them credit. They came out and played a really good game, but it's difficult at times to keep going at that level when you've already got the title sewn up. You only need to look at Dunfermline today. I mean, I don't think Dunfermline have won a game since they won the league, you know. And they're losing 3-0 at home to Airdrie. So maybe Rangers, this week they already lost to Hibs in that same draw with Alloa today. But the main thing about Rangers is they're back to where they feel they should be, and I feel they should be there too. They're the biggest club. We've got 2 big clubs in Scotland, Rangers and Celtic, and it'll be great again to see them both competing again in the Premier League.
Yeah, Queen of the South 2, Livingston 1, and clearly some people would suggest that Macca is right, pulled the plug too early on James Fowler, but they've got the goal today again from Derek Lyle. He'd scored from the penalty spot. He hits another one in. Macca, 17 goals for the season. That's good going again for a man, I think, in the twilight of his career.
On the twilight of his career, but being a goal scorer, it doesn't matter. And God will tell you, you get that chance. You only need a half a yard. Everyone says about pace over the top, which certain way you play. But as a striker, I mean, look at Alan McCoy. He was not the quickest player in the world.
Yeah.
But sharpness in the head, you get a half a yard. That's all you need to get in front of the defender and score.
And it's an awareness
it's
thing.
Just being in the right place at the right time.
It's an awareness thing as well. But
something that's natural.
But you're in the right place at the right time, Frank. And I would say this about yourself, that you suddenly you could read it, and you just thought, if I go there, I've got a chance, and you got the chance.
Well,
now some players don't see that.
I always thought about it's a gamble. Sometimes I see little Griff when I'm watching Celtic. I watch Griff and I go, Griff, mate, go and just gamble. And the keeper will drop it, or something that will just bounce off. Whereas I'd have gambled and I'd have got an end to it.
Yeah.
Maybe it's a strike, I don't know, because he can score some great goals.
Yeah.
Griff, but he's just, sometimes you've got to gamble.
Yeah.
Just do that and just make an effort.
I think Ali McCoy was totally like that. Ali would see if somebody else was in a position to shoot, he would just go in there just thinking, if the goalkeeper lets this go,
he's going in. You always follow a shot just in case.
Thing.
The other thing with Coisty was he used to talk to centre halves and put them off, and then the ball was coming in, he was going behind them. He was an absolute nightmare for that.
Okay, Bobby Barr has just hit the post for Morton against Hibernian, almost giving them the lead there. Willian has scored for Chelsea to make it 3-1 against Bournemouth. And Tadic has added his second of the afternoon. Aston Villa 1, Southampton 3 in that match in the Barclays Premier League.
It's interesting, Peter, that you know, Chelsea, you know, are struck a bit of form at this stage, and both Leicester and Spurs have got Chelsea to play in their remaining games. So Chelsea could play a part really in who picks up that league title.
You just wonder if it has any effect on players when they're playing a day later, because of the nature of broadcasting and covering matches. Now teams have to play in the Monday. Spurs have to play in the Monday against West Brom. Leicester know what they have to do. No surprise that Claudio Ranieri, Ruffy, has finally admitted, yes, we can win the title.
Yeah, and I think every manager like that has been in that situation. There's a right time when to say it, you know, and then it just puts the onus on everybody else, you know, to say, oh, they really feel confident.
Did you see his press conference yesterday? It was brilliant.
Yeah, dilly ding, dilly dong.
He was giving all that, hey man, we're in the Champions League, which for Leicester is unbelievable.
Yeah.
He's saying, let's be happy we're in the Champions League. He's playing it down again for it. But he thinks he can go and win all the games. He thinks that. And I'll tell you what, there'll be some partying if they win tomorrow against Man United, and then go and there'll be a few of them up for the English Player of the Year and all that. So they'll be going there, they're on top, they're getting helicopters down.
Yeah.
So they can be into London. So that'll be one hell of a party, and they'll not really bother about what happens at the Monday night with Tottenham. They'll just look after their own game.
Well, Leicester's got Swansea tomorrow, and then they've got Man United, Everton and Chelsea. That's the last three.
Is that Leicester's?
Leicester. And Spurs have got West Brom, then they've got Chelsea,
Big
Southampton,
games.
Newcastle. And both of them, fun enough, of the last 3 games, are both away twice. So
Big
you
games.
can't. They're big games. You can't take anything for granted as well, because you know at that level you think you know they're games that they're winnable in terms of form. I think Tottenham have struck very good form, to be honest with you, of late, haven't they?
They're good to watch. But
looking good.
They are good to watch. But
don't let your West Ham rivalry kick in.
They can't do it.
Let's be objective and fair on this programme. I can tell
I
you.
want Leicester to win.
Yeah, Blair Henderson has scored for Berwick against East Fife in the 72nd minute of that match. East Stirlingshire 0, Elgin City 3. So the goals flying in the lower leagues. We're waiting to see if Motherwell can build on that slender advantage they have. And of course, Partick Thistle honours even against Dundee. Is there a winner in that game? I've got to get this in, Ruffy, in case I forget. Dundee United, this is D-Day, lads. I'm not sure if you're aware of it, but this is D weekend, to be honest with you, because Ruffy has mentioned that if Dundee United don't take anything from the Hamilton game, it's all over for him. He's finally going to say that Dundee United are going to be relegated. Is that
save it
right?
to next week.
If they lose.
Oh, they've just to lose.
Yeah, if they lose.
Yes.
Because obviously it depends on Kilmarnock, you know, what they do. And I think Dundee United have got Kilmarnock coming up quite soon. So if they were to narrow the gap by another point, and then the 3 points are up for, it could make it a really interesting last couple of games.
So they've got 15 points to play for still, but you're right, if they were to lose tomorrow and say Kilmarnock got a win, if they lose and Kilmarnock don't win either, if Kilmarnock lose as well, then it's not completely closed up, but it gets more difficult, obviously.
Macca.
So we make up our mind, we stick with it, you know. It's one of them. We just stick with it. I said months ago they were down.
Yeah.
I'm not going to change my mind. I'm not going to change my mind now.
Just out of curiosity, Ruffy, and it's just a little question to get an insight into you. When you were at Glenafton as the manager, and there was somebody who just wasn't pulling their weight, did you eventually just come into the dressing room and say, would you mind dropping out of the team? Is it okay if you don't play today? What did you do?
I actually going to tell you a story.
That's better than the Gregory'sville story.
At Glenafton I had a player that was a wee bit like Macca, centre forward. He'll remain nameless.
Scored all goals.
And we were playing a Scottish Cup quarter final. We were playing a Scottish Cup quarter final. And he said to me, Alan, he said, I'm going to my brother's wedding this Friday. I'm the best man. And I said, please don't let yourself down and the team down. And he said, no, I'm not going to touch a drink. I'm not going to. I've got a big game and we've got so far. And I says, okay, brilliant. So 2 o'clock comes as all the players start arriving, and this player was nowhere to be seen. And I'm watching the cars coming over the bridge, and then all of a sudden I've read out the team, and I put him in it because I'm guaranteed that he's coming.
Okay.
So 2:30 he appears. He is white as a sheet. He's been up all night, ill. He's obviously had a few drinks.
Oh, aye.
So he
Met
says to me,
something bad
look,
today.
he says, I've let you down and everything, blah, blah, blah. But if you give me 20 minutes, I'll do my best for the team and my best for you. And I went, okay, fair enough. So I put him in the team. Hat trick. First 15 minutes.
He scored a hat
He
trick.
scored a hat trick.
Get me off.
Get me off to go and be
Scored a
sick.
hat trick.
Is that right?
Yeah.
Do you know what that reminds me of?
You get
Robbie?
beat 4-3.
It's such a great story, and it would be great if they were beaten by 4 goals to 3. But it's such a great story. It reminds me of Celtic playing Red Star Belgrade in the 60s. And Jimmy Johnston had been told prior to the game by Jock Stein, listen,
Play well.
these people here are here to see you. If you play well, I know you don't like flying, you won't need to go to the return leg. And Jimmy Johnston absolutely tore the place up. And then eventually Jock Stein said to him, with all the skills of a psychological manager, look, you can't deny the people of Belgrade. They're all wanting to see you. I mean, talk about technology.
There was a downside of that story that I just told you, because I had a substitute who obviously thought he was a bit of a player. And while we were getting ready to go out onto the park, my star player was in the toilet being sick. And he's sitting in the subs bench going, can't believe this. This is happening. As you can imagine.
Did you give him a look when he scored his hat trick? Did you give the boy a wee look to say, can you believe it now?
But he knew what he could do for the team, so he bought into
Did you see that, boy? Do you want
I can tell you, as a goal for Dundee.
Never in doubt.
Greg Stewart just playing that ball in there, and Hemmings has got his second of the afternoon. He's just put the ball through the legs of the goalkeeper, and it's Partick Thistle 1, Dundee 2. Robbie, what a blow that is.
Yeah, I thought there was too many changes at the back for Thistle. Change of goalkeeper, obviously Booth not playing, Seaburn not playing. It was always going to be a recipe for a disaster, but there's still a bit of time.
Dundee were with
Yeah, exactly.
Too,
Yeah,
That's it. But I liked it. I went for them because I just like their outlook. I just think they go for it. They go for every game, and I like their outlook. They go to Thistle and they'll just go in the attack. And
well, they obviously like playing
Jeremy
at
Cabe says they're going to do it. They're going to do it to the end of the season. They're going to just keep going and try and entertain.
Yeah, they've won twice there already, and this will be the third win if they win it today.
Well,
so they obviously like playing there.
Highway Rocky.
I knew that.
There is always a point in the programme where Maka goes into, I'm not listening to anything you're saying. I'm just going to keep butting in and talk all over the top of you. And we're in that zone.
We're in that zone.
Queen of the South 3, Livingston 1. Gary Oliver with the goal there. And also, as we just told you there, it's a blow for Partick Thistle, Dundee getting that goal. Although I was speaking to a few of the Dundee camp in midweek, and they are just coming out of what can only be described, Ruffy, as a depression, because they were hoping to get top 6 and they were not happy.
Yeah, I saw an article for the manager saying that the players were gutted. Obviously, there's a lot of things. They're probably on bonuses. They were probably on maybe a wage structure change and all that kind of thing. So when you're so near and so far away, it is a hard one to take. And again, you know, we keep talking about budgets on this show. I'm sure if they'd got into the top 6 and there would have been extra revenue, you keep telling us there's X amount of pounds, however high up the league.
Yeah.
That could be the difference between hanging on to 2 players and letting 2 players go, or bringing in 3 players. So the financial side of it as well was probably a very, very big thing.
Yeah, no surprise that it was a day of celebration for Rangers today. It may well have finished Rangers 1, Alloa 1, and I think great credit to Jack Ross. He's got a new deal, and Alloa can leave Ibrox with their head held high. But Mark Warburton and the Rangers players all speaking. Mark Warburton has mentioned that, you know, despite the defeat against Hibs in midweek, Gordon, and this 1-1 draw today, his players will be up for the Cup final. I know everybody talks about momentum, but I don't think it will have a bearing on a Cup final when you know what's at stake. Suddenly, you'll lift yourself.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, that's the thing. A lot of people do think that, you know, that has an effect because you've dipped off and the form's not good. But as I say, a lot of the players might be even saving themselves to a degree to make sure they are available, because there'll be a few of them a bit worried about maybe picking up an injury or whatever when they've got the Cup final to play. Because if they get there and they win the Cup, it does work out as a great season. I mean, I know it's not at the top level, but it still turns out it's a great season, having won a treble.
Yeah, absolutely.
Not the treble.
No, absolutely not, and we're not going over that again. 'Cause, the other point I was going to make to you guys is no point in even trying to look for sellotape for our
No.
today, because it's now Peterhead 0, Ayr United 4. I cannot believe that scoreline.
Is that the most wrong any of us have been?
I think so. Is it, are you,
prediction, I
is,
think?
Yes, I mean.
so you've got
Ruffy,
yours up. I've got mine up to now. You've got yours up.
Yes. Ruffy,
Ruffy.
woeful.
Why are you just picking me?
I'll tell you,
I've been right for the last 2 months.
Can
Well, I
just
don't
say
remember
something? Ruffy's been so right,
Right,
Macca.
I
When
think-
we had the head-to-head, we were actually putting up the scores between me and Ruffy in the head-to-head, and I think he must have gone about 250 points ahead of me, and I just said, look, Conrad, just bin that, don't bother showing it now, it's
Yeah.
embarrassing.
No, you can't pick a team.
Rayo Vallecano were 2 goals up on Real Madrid. It's now Rayo Vallecano 2, Real Madrid 3. Gareth Bale scored his second of the afternoon. And it's hard to believe he's one of the most expensive players in the world. We haven't really been talking about him this season in a Spanish
He's
sense.
an injury, isn't he? He's an injury.
He hasn't as much credit as, but I think he is a tremendous player. I mean, he's done so well. He started off as a fullback, didn't he, at Southampton, and get bought, by Tottenham, and I think he's gone to great things. But Real Madrid, I mean, that's a bit of a comeback, but they are really competing. That is a tremendous league as well when you look at 1 point separating 3 teams.
I'll tell you, Craig Moore, Ruffy, good job you mentioned him at the start of the programme. He scored that goal again for Ayr United. Fantastic performance with him.
Yeah, we saw him his very first game. You remember at Motherwell?
Yeah.
Where he just came on as a substitute.
That's right,
and
looked good.
Smashed one in. First touch of the ball, 25 yards, top corner. Obviously, they thought he needed to go out and get some experience before they brought him back again. But it seems to be, you get the better, he'll come back, confident young lad, scoring goals. So that might be one for Motherwell for the future.
Hey, I'll tell you, Macca, your comments have got lots of fans just tweeting in. And PJ says yes to everybody except Ryan Christie, just hasn't had a chance in the first team. David McIntosh says no, not young Christie or Lustig, but the others, yes, I agree with them. And Lumos says no, Christie should definitely stay.
Well, I put question marks with Christie and Scott Allen.
Yes,
but the rest of them, they're just.
And I have to say, I'm going to speak in defence of Scott Brown here, because I know a number of people have said. I was listening to people saying Aston Villa, I can tell you 2, Southampton 3. They've got to go back there. I know a lot of people suggested that Scott Brown is gone. His legs have gone. I think that's a nonsense. That is an absolute nonsense. I mean, I think, as far as Celtic are concerned, in his particular role, Ruffy, there's nobody better. I just think he's been surrounded by, at times, mediocrity.
I was just going to say that there. I think it was 2 or 3 years ago, when Scott Brown was going through a right bad time. Not just because he's form, it was because he was trying to do everything. He saw how poor the side was. He was picking up the ball for the goalkeeper. He was chasing down people. He was doing like 3 guys' job. And I think, unfortunately, the way things are just now at Celtic, he's fallen into that category again. He's just doing too much. Instead of just concentrating on what he's got to do.
His own game, Alan.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Instead of just concentrating on what he's doing, is shutting down and identifying players to nullify them. He's now doing Johansson's job, and he's doing somebody's job out wide.
But he used to be so good at just getting the ball and running and making it. You saw Scott Brown score a few goals. But when do you see him in the box? And you don't see him anywhere near the box. He's been told just to sit there with Beaton or whoever else is in there and just don't let them play. And I'm thinking, that's no Scott Brown, Alan, is it? That's not the way he plays. He likes to move.
It was interesting what you were saying. You put Lustig forward, and somebody saying, "Oh, I don't think Lustig is one." But outstanding last night in the game was the young lad Fisher. For St Johnstone, who's on loan from Celtic.
Yes.
I mean, he's been in the first team before, hasn't he? He's played in the first team. He seemingly was outstanding in the game last night, so he's got to then come into contention, because if already chased, he's a geary. He's out now, and they're bringing through players. Fisher's in the same category. He's a young player that's come through the system, and therefore, if he's out on loan just now and performing at that level in the Premier Division against one of Celtic's main rivals, Aberdeen, he's got to come back into contention, hasn't he?
You have to ask yourself if the best strategy would be, instead of signing what in the last couple of years 51 players, if the strategy should be quality rather than quantity.
Well, that's what I think.
Yeah, I think, well, you've said it all day, you know, it depends on the board.
I know, but you've been arguing with me.
No, it depends on their way of thinking. If the new manager comes in and he'll probably identify just what we all think. Look, I need 4 quality players. We've got the nucleus aside there. We've got a young full-back. We've got a centre-half we've not seen yet, but by all accounts he's okay. If you get another reasonable centre-half, the full-back position can be filled. And then you look at the midfield, and that's where you need the quality. That's where you need the quality in there.
Where would you, Gordon, strengthen the Rangers side? Because, you know, this is a title-winning side, could be on the verge of the Scottish Cup as well. He's got some good young players there. Obviously, Kenny Miller's at the tail end of his career. Do you see him getting a year?
I think he's got a year, didn't he? He got another year. I think, though, that although he's done well and everything like that, I think he would have to be considered a squad player. And I think Rangers, through the heart of their team, need to concentrate on at least one centre-half, a top quality midfield player, and a striker. They need at least one striker, maybe even more, but because they don't have a lot. They've got Nicky Clark and they've got Kenny Miller. Vaghorn obviously can play in there, but at times, the way Rangers play, he's maybe more suited to playing in a kind of wider area to come in.
Ruffy, I would go 2 centre-halves, a midfielder and... Well, in fact, I would go 2 centre-halves, 2 midfielders and a striker.
Yeah, I would still go for 2 strikers. I think if the things were at Rangers the way they should be, Kenny Miller and Nicky Clark wouldn't be your first choice. No, you would have them on the bench and they'd come on. So I think you need, because I think Waghorn, as Gordon says, plays more of a wide guy more than an out-and-out striker. I mean, he scores his fair amount of goals, all credit to him, but I think you need a number 9, somebody who...
Yeah, I think that's what Celtic's crying out, because I think whoever comes in will change it back to, especially in Scottish football, I think we'll change it back to 2 strikers. So I think they've got to do that. And I think one striker for Rangers, I think one good striker is, you know, somebody that can hold the ball, somebody that can bring other players into it. I don't think they've got that at the moment. They've got quite a small midfield as well, haven't they? They've got quite a small midfield, apart from O'Halloran.
I know what you're saying, right, but I don't think... I know everybody's been saying that 2 strikers are required for Celtic to play that sort of style of football. I think in the modern game nowadays, I don't think you definitely need that. I think you need, as long as you're playing that sort of system, which you're playing a 4-2-3-1, you're 3 players. You've got somebody playing just off the striker. You've got 2 wide players. Now, when the ball's on one side, the other wide players should be able to come in and be a striker in the box. It's a system that's working for a lot of teams without having to play 2 up front, a 4-4-2. No, 4-4-2 is like an old-fashioned system nowadays.
Just briefly on that, how many players do you think Hearts and Aberdeen need, Ruffy? Hearts, first of all, to make it, when you consider the great season, albeit they've maybe lost
half
today,
a dozen.
Yeah,
Again,
I don't see them too far away with the pool of players that they've got. I think, again, a striker. Everybody wants a striker. Everybody wants a striker who can score 22, 25 goals. You know, if they could identify that kind of player, then I think they'd be halfway there. But
they've got Rooney and Church. So,
Well, that's what I think Aberdeen's problem's been, Rooney. Yeah. You know, although Church has come in and did his wee goal here and there, I think if Rooney had been there, he would have scored more. But we keep going back to the goalkeeper as well. I think the goalkeeper would have been at least 5 points to the better if he'd have been playing.
I think they need to look at their whole back 4, Peter, to be honest with you. Aberdeen. Yeah. And I think they need to strengthen their back.
Okay, Chelsea are now 4-1 up in Bournemouth. That's a convincing win. We're into the last couple of minutes of injury time at Firhill as well. And hopefully you have been able to keep up with all the scores as they go. It's East Stirlingshire 0, Elgin City 3. So that's a good win for Elgin away from home. Arbroath against Montrose, not a game that I think will be out on DVD. It finished 0-0. Eden Hazard, I can tell you, scored that goal for Chelsea in that match. Fast approaching full time. and a Moo one-on-one with Scott Bain. What a chance that was for an equaliser for Partick Thistle, Ruffy. And really, that's all about composure, surely. Look at it there. Just describe that to us.
Yeah, he's actually too honest. He should have did what all strikers do, just run into the goalkeeper and try and get a penalty.
Dear me, honestly. Kids, if you're watching,
See, some people do that. See, when you're one-on-one with the keeper, a lot of people
have you ever done that, Macca?
Run at a keeper? No, never did it. Actually, I was a great one. I used to go, if I was one-on-one with the keeper, go on.
Go on, if you were
If I was one-on-one with the keeper, I wouldn't let them near us. I always went round them. Because they're not usually like you, a bit slow and all that.
Yeah.
So if you go round them with my pace, Charlie Nick used to go up and beat them. He would try and beat them, you know. That's certain players do certain things.
Okay, let's go to Firhill, full time there, Laura Brannan.
Yeah, it's Dundee who take away the points this afternoon from Glasgow, and Partick Thistle will be feel hard done by not to get at least a share of the points in this one. The first goal came 35 minutes into the first half. Paul McGinn at the byline sent in a low cross for Kane Hemmings to slam home from 2 yards out. That came against the run of play, and the home side equalised on 70 minutes. This time it was Osman sending the ball in for Chris Doolan to head home, and it was a history-making goal as well for Partick Thistle. Doolan, he's only the second Partick Thistle player to score at least 10 goals in 6 consecutive seasons. Jimmy Walker was the other one, but it wasn't enough to hold on for a share of the points for Partick Thistle, because 11 minutes later Dundee changed to a 3-4-3 and Stewart sent a ball in from the right for Kane Hemmings to slot through Ryan Scully's legs for his second of the afternoon and his 25th of the season. Maybe a contender for a shortlist place in the Player of the Year awards coming this week for Kane Hemmings. We'll soon find out anyway. Full time here at Firhill. It was Partick Thistle 1, Dundee 2.
Full time there. What about the other Premiership game at Fir Park? Craig Turnbull has the details.
Just here at Fir Park, Motherwell 1, Hearts 0, and Hearts missed the opportunity to close the gap on second place Aberdeen as Motherwell climbed to fourth. There was only a goal a game, came on 29 minutes. Lionel Ainsworth for his third goal of the season, driving into the box with a low shot which beat Alexander. Motherwell had further chances. Liam Holt hit the post, and Scott McDonald missed a sitter as they threatened to pile more misery on Hearts. Hearts didn't offer enough threat and will be disappointed that they didn't test Craig Sampson in goal, who was making his first start for Motherwell this season. It's Mark McGee's men who go home with 3 points. Full time at Fir Park. Motherwell 1, Hearts 0.
What about that 3 points there for Motherwell, Ruffy? They're in 4th position, and it's just been a fabulous transformation from the Fir Park side under Mark McGee.
Yeah, you have to give the manager and the players all the credit. They went out there, went on a wee run. We always say that if a team can do that, it can just make a season, and they certainly, more than anybody else, have went on a fantastic run. And all credit to the players and the manager.
Yep, there's an FA Cup semi-final today that we will keep you up to date with before the end of the programme. Everton against Manchester United, but getting ever closer to the full-time scores across all 4 divisions. One early kick-off today was Rangers 1, Alloa 1, and James Tavernier's equaliser certainly got the Rangers fans onto their feet, but it was the arrival of the Championship trophy that had everyone cheering the loudest and listening to the words of Mark Warburton, who clearly has a rallying call for Rangers fans to invest in the club once more with season tickets over the summer months and take the battle to Celtic in the title race for next season, Gordon.
Yeah, I think that's what they want to do, because there will be an expectancy now because of the scoreline last weekend, because Rangers knocked Celtic out of the cup. The Rangers fans will not be thinking we're just going up there just to compete in the league. They will want to challenge for it, so that's why the signings will be crucial. But you know, Celtic are going to have a new ownership, maybe new signings there, not new ownership, new management, and that will definitely have an impact as well.
Yeah, I thought Gordon was just revealing a super something that's happening that we didn't know about. Okay, it will be a new manager, but who's it going to be? You can give us your thoughts on social media. We'll discuss that and the full-time scores on the way. Welcome back to Peter and Ruffy's Saturday football show. Sometimes you have to react quickly on this programme. It's as simple as that. Watching Frank McAvenny, Gordon Smith and Alan Ruff on this show this afternoon, it's all about opinions. Some you'll agree with, some you'll disagree with. Macca had a list of players that he thinks should be sold by Celtic. That's opened a can of worms, and of course then Gordon has offered who he thinks Rangers should be buying for next season. Ruffy has analysed who Hearts should buy for next season to continue their challenge at the top end of the table. We might talk about Aberdeen as well. We'll certainly be looking ahead to the 3 games that are taking place tomorrow, but let's have a look at the full-time results across the country. But first of all, let's just checking here. Let's go to Capello, because Morton against Hibs. Derek Clark was watching it.
Full time at Capello is finished. Morton 0, Hibs 0 in what's been a very drab 90 minutes of football. Could this result have killed off the Leafs side's hopes of finishing in second? They were poor here this afternoon, failing to really test Derek Gaston in the Morton goal, but take nothing away from the home side, who after last week's disappointment at St Mirren really turned up here this afternoon and could have took all 3 points if Bobby Barr had found the back of the net. He struck the inside of the post midway through the second half. The best Hibs came to scoring was in the first half when Liam Henderson was played in on goal, but he lifted the ball over Gaston and over the bar also. Jason Cummings did have the ball in the net in the second period, but he was ruled offside. It's been a day to forget for Alan Stubbs' men, who'll now be relying on the Wraith Rovers doing them a favour against Falkirk later on. It's finished here, Morton 0, Hibs 0.
So, into the Premiership in Scotland for the full-time scores. Obviously, St Johnstone 3, Aberdeen 0 from last night. Motherwell 1, Hearts 0, Partick Thistle 1, Dundee 2. 3 games tomorrow: Inverness against Kilmarnock, Celtic Ross County, and Dundee United against Hamilton Accies. Into the Championship. The champions, Rangers, lifted the trophy at Ibrox, but that was after 90 minutes, where they ended up with a 1-1 draw against Alloa in the early kick-off today. Dumbarton 2, St Mirren 1, Morton 0, Hibernian 0, Queen of the South 3, Livingston 1, and as Derek Clark mentioned there, Wraith Rovers against Falkirk is the early evening kick-off at 5:15. League One in Scotland. Airdrie 3, Dunfermline 0, Albion Rovers 3, Forfar 2, Brecon City 1, Stranraer 0, Cowdenbeath 1, Stenhousemuir 3, and Peterhead 0, Ayr United 4. And in Scottish League 2, the full-time scores from that division are Broth 0, Montrose 0, Berwick Rangers 2, East Fife 0, East Stirlingshire 0, Elgin City 3, Queen's Park 2, Clyde 1, and Stirling Albion 2, and an Athletic 1. In the Barclays Premier League, it was Manchester City 4, Stoke 0 in the early kick-off, Aston Villa 2, Southampton 4, Bournemouth 1, Chelsea 4, and Liverpool 2, Newcastle United 2. So there's the full-time results. You can give us your reaction to your team's performance, and also we'll get more chat from Alan Ruff, Gordon Smith and Frank McAvenny coming up next. Welcome back to Peter and Ruffy's Saturday football show. We'll hear from some of the managers, we'll hear from our reporters at the key games who've been looking over the two Premiership matches today. Such is life in the broadcasting world, that you get games moved from Saturdays to Sundays. It's 12:30 sometimes. The early kick-off, Rangers fans had to get up early and head to Ibrox to get ready for the celebrations, and then by the time 3 o'clock comes around, most of the Rangers fans are heading out, continuing their championship party celebrations. And here on the football show, well done to Mark Warburton and all the Rangers staff. They are back in the Premiership in Scotland, and it's going to be an intriguing battle next season with a good 4 or 5 teams that should all be in the mix in the top 6. But there's big questions to be asked about the other teams and how they will respond as well. Paul Hartley must be going to a function, because he was in and out in double quick time there. Ruffy, from his press conference, must have been in a hurry, but delighted to get that win against Partick Thistle. 2-1, Kane Hemmings with a double.
Yeah, and the even more galling thing about it is if they go on a wee run, you know, they will fill the unofficial top 6, you know, as it unfortunately happens, the way it works out. And that would be the galling thing, but you could see how down he was about the whole scenario last week of not just making it.
Yep, Motherwell deserve full credit. They got the win over Hearts. Robbie Nielsen certainly won't want the season just to whimper out.
No, because he was talking about challenging maybe Aberdeen for second spot, but we don't think it's going to happen. I don't think there's any chance they're going to catch them. But they have got European football already established, and maybe to a certain degree then his players might have switched off to a degree, because we've spoken about this a few times, and we all experience it, that once a team, if you set a goal for the team and they achieve that, it's very hard to keep them lifted and keep them going, and that's what Hearts have done. Hearts were going for a European spot this season.
Do you think that's what they're set out? I thought they may have just wanted to consolidate in the league this year.
I think initially though, Frank, I think, but as the season was goes on, he lifted the. Yeah. It was like, first and foremost, it was stay up. Yeah. Then it was top 6.
And then it was
let's
Europe. Go and see if we can get Europe. Yeah.
We're always talking about teams that are achieving, but survival is equally worthy of some praise as well, especially when you consider, Ruffy, the job that Steve Aitken's done at Dumbarton.
Yeah, well, I think we've spoke about the Championship, how good a division it is, and teams like Dumbarton would want to be in it, you know, with the quality of the teams that are there. Obviously Rangers this year, Hibs, and next year it'll be big sides as well, you know. And for a small club like Dumbarton, you need clubs like that coming to your ground. You need the interest of big sides, you know, to get the fans in, and so that'd be good for him hanging on in there for another year.
Yep, absolutely. You can give us your views if you were at any Scottish football match today at Peter and Ruffy on Twitter, facebook.com/Peter and Ruffy. And we will be reading out more than a few of your messages you might want to offer as your thoughts on who you think should be the next Celtic manager, or indeed who you think your team should be signing to strengthen for next season. The summer months are certainly going to be interesting, with clubs top and bottom looking to strengthen. Give us your view on that. We will have our reporters back offering their thoughts on the games that they were at today in the Premiership and the Championship. We'll hear from some of the managers as well. Join us right after this break. Ruffy, Gordon Smith and Macca will still be here with me. Welcome back to Peter and Ruffy's Saturday Football Show. Good win today for Motherwell, cementing their place in fourth. 1-0 win against Heart of Midlothian. Dundee may well have had only 15 fit players, but the 11 that took to the field today at Firhill had more than enough in reserve. Kane Hemmings with a double, defeating Partick Thistle by 2-1 in the Championship. Rangers crowned champions, the trophy handed over. Red, white and blue ticker tape, but that was after a 1-1 draw against Alloa. But all the Rangers fans certainly delighted that is now done and dusted, and it's onwards to the Scottish Cup final. Just got to try and keep that momentum going, Gordon Smith, for the big occasion at Hampden on the 21st of May.
Yeah, that's it. I mean, both teams have got different approach to the final when you think about it. Hibs have got crucial games. They're still trying to get that second spot. Whereas Rangers, virtually the season's over. All they've got now are basically some meaningless league games, so you don't know how they're going to be approaching those. But both teams will be approaching the cup final desperate to win it for different reasons. Rangers will just want to finish off their season. Hibs will want to win the Scottish Cup because these players will be legends if they do, in terms of Hibs' record in the Scottish Cup over such a long time. So I think the Rangers, you know, as I say, the difficulty Mark Warburton will have will be to keep the players going, keep them interested, but he might move the players about a wee bit now. He might change things in order to give other players a rest and give other players an opportunity. So, as I say, they've got a totally different approach now in the remaining games of the season.
Yeah, Hibernian, have they just got to concentrate, Ruffy, on trying to get some kind of form again going into it? They'll be delighted with a win over Rangers. That surely gives you a shot in the arm, but you don't defeat Rangers and then suddenly get to a situation, no disrespect to Morton, but people would be expecting them to get 3 points today again.
I'm sure Alan Stubbs and the players would expect to go there as well, but when you're getting games piled on you like that, you know, 2 a week, some players can do it, some players can't. There's a level of performance you've got to try and keep up. It was interesting. Alan Stubbs talking about what he's trying to do off the park, you know, the drinking and drinking and eating the right things, and you know, sleeping when they need to, and that obviously that means that somebody has identified within the park that these are the things they've got to do now with all the games that are coming up, and if you don't get the breaks in the games, you know, the pressure then starts mounting. But this is a fantastic chance for Falkirk tonight to go to Wraith Rovers and get 3 points. If they were to get 3 points, you know, I think Hibs would have to settle for that 4th spot.
Yeah, okay. Falkirk, I can tell you, their team is Rogers, Leahy, McCracken, Volks, Tewu, Alston, Baird, Sibbald, Kerr, Miller, Hippolyte. That's a starting 11 for Falkirk. As far as Wraith Rovers are concerned, Cuthbert, Thompson, Benedictus, Panayatu, beg your pardon, Davidson, Thomas, Longridge, McKeown, Craigan, Robertson and Barr is the starting lineup for Wraith Rovers. And I think when you look at the managers out with Mark Warburton, that will be just maybe outside contenders, Gordon, for manager of the Championship. Yeah. I think Peter Houston's had a great season. You've got to give great credit to Ray McKinnon. I think Ray McKinnon has been very much under the radar.
Definitely. I mean, you're absolutely right. I mean, there's 2 things to it. You can have success, but there's also, it's in relation to the resources that they have. And Peter Houston and Ray McKinnon don't have the resources even that Hibs have got, and then Rangers once again have the most money. So you think about it, but you don't always get judged on that, and that's why he has done a great job. I mean, they're going to be in the playoffs. They are in the playoffs now. Tonight will be an interesting one because this could be like a little a prelude to the actual playoff game. Wraith could be playing Falkirk in that first playoff if Hibs managed to pick up enough points to get above. But that was a disappointing one for Hibs today, and it's given the advantage back to Falkirk really in terms of being in that second spot.
Get your thinking caps on who you think should be manager of the year. We're going to hear from Jim Duffy at Capello. He's been speaking to Derek Clark.
Well, after last week's disappointment, Jim, you certainly got a performance here this afternoon.
Yeah, I mean, we spoke about last week and we didn't want to finish the season flat, really. We wanted to try and show people that we're a better side than what we did last week, and I think we've done that today. I think against a top-class Hibs side, I think we matched them in all departments, and we're a bit unlucky, maybe not to take all 3 points, but credit to Hibs, they're a very, very good side, and for us a point's a good result.
Last home game, standing ovation at the end of it, how pleasing was that?
Yeah, Yeah, I think it's terrific when the players get, applauded from the pitch, and sometimes when you draw 0-0, we don't always get applause at home. But I think the fans really appreciated the effort the players have put in all season, and gave them a deserved round of applause. So I think it's good for the players, it's good for the fans that we can help each other in these times, and it's always good to finish, as I said, in a positive vein.
And you're fifth at the moment, a point ahead of Queen and South, 2 ahead of your rivals, and Mirren, you'll be stressing your players to go and make sure you finish fifth.
Well, it'd be ideal, it'd be a fantastic season if we could finish that way, but it's so difficult. So we'll try our best next week against Falkirk, and we'll give it everything we've got. And if we show the same match as we did today, then there's every chance we can get a result.
Cheers, Jim.
Thanks very much. Cheers.
All the best.
Yeah, and good to hear from wee Jack in the background shouting as he was leaving the stadium. I apologise, just in case. I'm not quite sure what he was saying, but you never know if it was something offensive. I don't think, I certainly didn't hear anything offensive, but nevertheless, anybody who shouts out, we always like to make sure it's A-OK. But I'm going to give a shout out now for Jim Duffy, because when you look at what his remit was, Macca, 5th place in the table is good going for Morton.
Well, if you remember, Jim was saying at the start of the season, he was saying he was delighted there's going to be a derby game with St Mirren. He says it would be great to have these games back. And he says he would just look to get ahead of St Mirren. He says we'll see where we end up at the end of the season. Obviously, he was saying that with tongue in cheek, but he's done a wonderful job there. And I do like Jim as a manager. He's been at a few clubs, and he's been very steady, and he's got Morton playing at some decent football. And I'm surprised actually that he's not at a higher level.
Yeah, I think we've gone through a phase in Scottish football where suddenly, because of the financial constraints, Gordon, a lot of younger managers have been given a chance, and maybe experienced managers have been jettisoned too early. Yeah, I think there is a case of that, but everyone always looks at it and says, well, people deserve their chance at different times. To be a young manager, a lot of the times you're getting somebody who's just finished their playing career. But there also is a position where people like that have to get an opportunity too. I mean, Murray went, he came across and went to Dumbarton, and then St Mirren, and he's out the game now already at a young age. But there's somebody like Jim Duffy, tremendous experience, So there's different categories of managers. Alec Ray is getting into St Mirren. It's very, very hard to see who should be in a job and who shouldn't really. And there's a lot of competition, Peter, for places in the game, just trying to get a start. And sometimes the managers have to go to a lower level. Barry Ferguson has done that at Clyde. He's gone to a lower level to try and build his reputation and get himself back up, whereas Gus McPherson has basically slipped down to that level because he's been at a higher one. Yeah, and the game's just kicked off between Falkirk and Raith Rovers at Starks Park. Of course, John Baird just going into the penalty box for the corner, Ruffy, and some of the Raith Rovers fans are giving him pelters, all jovial stuff. He's laughing with them as well, because John Baird has written himself into the history books at Raith Rovers for that Petra Pak Training Cup final.
Yeah, and I'm sure it's something he'll treasure for a long, long time. And he was a good player up there, and I'm sure it's just a wee bit of banter. And like all good players, he'll want to go there and score. He'll want to go to his old team and possibly get a goal, if not the winner. Yeah, absolutely. If he could get maybe 5 or 6 goals today, that would be great, Macca, wouldn't it? Just if he scored 5 or 6, that would give us... You're not asking for a lot. No, absolutely not. It would just give us the meal to end all meals for the bet with Ruffy. But I have to say, I think you've lost that one. It's gone, isn't it, Macca? It's gone, I think. I think it's gone. They never know. Strikers are funny people. Yep, still playoffs as well. Yeah, so they are. You're right there, Macca. Still playoffs to go as well, and charity matches and 5-a-sides. He might get the 25 goals that I suggested he would. Okay, we're going to hear from Alan Stubbs very shortly indeed. A point it's a point, but now I think, is there a sense, just before we get to hear from the Hibs manager, is there a sense, Ruffy, that it's all about now playing third against fourth, then the winner against second? And I'm not suggesting for a minute that they are a foregone conclusion. No, I don't think so. No, Alan Stubbs is very smart about this whole playoff situation. He's talked about it, and he's come out quite candidly and said, look, if it's fourth place, it's fourth place. Our target was to be in the playoff or win the league at the beginning of the season. If it's the playoffs, then we'll take the playoffs. Obviously, if he was telling the absolute truth, he would want to be second.
Yeah.
You know, but he's putting it out there to everybody. There's no panic stations. They don't have to panic.
No.
You know, we're actually in it. We're not out yet. And that's the way he spoke about it. He'll be disappointed today that he never took 3 points out of that game.
Otherwise, people look at it as a degree of failure.
Yeah.
If he'd said, we want to be second and they don't get it, they'll say, that's Hibs on the downer. So, but as I say, potentially they've got 2 league games left now, and then they've got potentially 6 games for the playoff and then the cup final.
Yeah.
So Hibernian ultimately could have another 9 games still to play.
It is going to be hectic. Can you give me your manager of the year if we were voting for it right now?
From the championship?
Everywhere, because the managers all cast a vote, and I think the managers' votes are all in now. They're all in. So they were all completed this week, I think. Who is your manager of the year? Ruffy.
No, me first.
Okay,
No, me
Maka.
first.
Okay,
Try to
Gordon
think.
Smith. Trying to get an answer out of 3 guys. It's outrageous.
Is Ronnie Darlam, am I too late to vote for Ronnie Darlam?
Well, Gordon, social media is a wonderful thing, and you'll be getting pelters shortly. give us your manager of the year.
My manager of the year, I would probably go for Mark Warburton.
Mark Warburton wins it for you. Okay. If you're voting for it now, Maka, who gets your manager of the year? Who?
Robbie Nielsen.
Robbie Nielsen?
Hearts manager, Robbie Nielsen.
Yeah.
I think he's done wonders. I think he's come in and done straight up the championship. I think he's done wonders.
Robbie Nielsen gets your manager of the year. Mark Warburton's on the verge of a treble.
Oh, what do you want me to say?
I know what you want to say. I'm not giving it a Rangers back.
That's exactly what I'm looking at thinking. Where is your logic?
I was going to pick him, but he got first.
Okay. Well, I get it. I always like to quote him, but I can hear Wallace Mercer. Tribalism, it exists everywhere. Okay. Argue the case against Mark Warburton.
No, if it's right now.
Yes.
Right, I'll give you a right now, and then let me have another wee bit after.
Right, okay.
Right now, Jim McIntyre.
What?
Winning a cup and getting Ross County into the top 4, or top 6.
Top
Yeah.
6.
Right now.
Top 8.
That's right now.
Jim McIntyre wins it.
Right now.
Wraith Rovers have gone 1-0 up, by the way, just so we can let everybody know.
Yeah.
If Mark
going to get
Warburton was to win the Scottish Cup, he's got to be
He's got
considered.
to get it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But that's
But you
right
get
now.
it. But you get it
I
before.
think
Yeah,
you
I
know. I think you know
Yeah.
it's got it. I think we know that Mark's Warburton's going to win it. I think that's for
Don't
me.
dig yourself out of a
No,
hole
I
now,
think he's going to
Maka.
win. I'm not going to. You know, I think he's going to win. I think he'll win it. I don't think there's any. Whether he wins, the Scottish Cup or not, I think he's going to win it.
See, I think there's a lot. I think it's very hard to choose because what was said before is it's what you've achieved, but it's also in terms of what your resources are and have you achieved above what you were expected of you. Maybe to a degree, Frank's right in one respect. Robbie Nielsen has achieved a lot considering what was expected. He's gone higher than that. We just mentioned another one earlier on, Peter. Jim Duffy, similar, achieved more. Ray McKinnon as well, getting Wraith Rovers into the playoff position. Tremendous.
I like
Peter
Robbie.
Houston, who's got above Hibs even at the moment.
I like Robbie the fact that he trains with 10 men because he knows he's got to get a man sent off. I like all that this season.
Okay.
I like
Just
that.
out of curiosity, did you give us a name?
Yes,
Jim McIntyre. Right, okay.
Can we not move it forward to and presume what's happened at the end of the season, and then we'll get a better reflection?
But it doesn't come at the
Oh,
end.
wait a
When's it
minute,
come?
that's being hypothetical.
I know it is. Well, let's be hypothetical.
Okay.
Rangers win the Scottish Cup.
It's Mark Warburton.
Hibs win the Scottish Cup and get promoted.
How can Hibs win it if Rangers win it?
I'm giving you scenarios.
Hibs win it if
I'm
Rangers
giving
win
you
it.
scenarios. I'm giving you manager scenarios.
He's basically put a full stop in Maka and then offered another
right,
thing.
okay.
Right, so Alan Stubbs wins the Scottish Cup and gets promotion. Does that beat Mark Warburton?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think so,
That
yeah.
just shows you
Because
how...
he got beat because he was also in another final, runner-up in the final, promotion, and winning the Scottish Cup for the first
Okay.
time. Hibs had won it for 114 years.
Okay.
It would be Alan
Mark
Stubbs.
Warburton can win the treble.
Treble.
Yeah.
Treble.
Right, okay. Listen, I'm going to side with you, Gordon. I think Mark Warburton will win Manager of the Year.
Yeah.
Just a guess. I think they're going to count them. I'll tell you, Joel Thomas scored that goal for Raith Rovers, one of those scrappy goals. The ball gets fired into the box. There's about 3 or 4 players all trying to have a swipe at it, and eventually comes off him and ends up in the bottom corner of the net, Gordon.
Big scoreline. I mean, we thought this would be a hard game, but definitely Raith Rovers at the moment have nothing to play for, other than the fact they maybe want to have one over in Falkirk, just in case that game comes about and they have to play them in the playoff. And they probably realise that if they beat Falkirk tonight, it could be Falkirk they're going to get in the playoff, isn't it? Yeah, I mean, think about it.
Yeah, and I can't split the two of them at this point, Ruffy, to be perfectly honest with you. Just another point that we've been talking about all throughout the afternoon, I think it's well worthy of a mention here, guys. I've written down names. Please tell me if I've forgotten one of the names on the big debate. David Moyes, Roy Keane, Neil Lennon, Michael O'Neill, Owen Coyle, Alan Stubbs, Malky Mackay, Brendan Rodgers, Paul Lambert, Steve Clark. Any other name missed out there?
Steve Evans was in the frame, wasn't he? He's blown it. The Leeds manager.
Yeah, I heard that. I heard that name midweek, and I actually thought
he blew it anyway because he was on TV and he says, "Look, he said my manager at Leeds. He says, if I got offered the Leeds job and I got offered the Celtic job, I'll take the Leeds job." So that's him out.
Yeah. I don't think Steve Evans was ever a contender.
Was he not? Well, he was on. What was on?
Well,
Sky.
I think somebody must have thrown that name in.
Because from Glasgow, he's a
winding
Celtic
everybody up.
supporter.
Yeah, absolutely. I think that's
what
just
it is, Kenny Shields.
What?
Well, it usually applies.
What? I like that. What? Usually applies. That's a great call. That's a great anchorman. What?
yeah. And by the way, it deserved that.
I know.
I might give it again.
That would have been the reaction at a Celtic board meeting if somebody suddenly thrown that name in.
What? No disrespect to Kenny Shields, he's doing a good job back in Ireland, but it's just the way Ruffy.
It's just a connection.
It's just the way you threw that in there. It's ridiculous. Okay.
Henrik Larsson.
Who's that?
Oh, that's the one.
That was the one. That wasn't, was it?
I forgot Henrik Larsson in there. Who do I think will get it? I still think Moyes is the choice.
But see, your choice.
I think if he wants it,
there's the odds. There's the odds. Have a look at the odds right now.
I think we would all.
Did not change today.
It's probably changed, but David Moyes, and then I would think Michael O'Neill, for me, is the second best option. And then after that, I think they leave themselves wide open to criticism of the other names.
No.
Well, wait a minute. Don't say no. Give me your thoughts.
Well, Michael O'Neill just signed. I signed a deal with that. I know, and he's quite. But what I can gather and speaking to people, he's quite happy to do that job.
Yes.
He doesn't want to go into day-to-day. Such a big club like Celtic.
Okay. So. Gordon Smith, are you with me?
Only Coyle would come back from America.
I think if David Moyes is really interested in the job and wants it, I think he'll be the first choice. Yes. I do. I think so. I think I would think if he's not interested in it and it's not him, then I would say Neil Lennon. Yeah. And I know you disagree with me, but Alan Stubbs would be a candidate.
Yeah. I think if Moyes gets it, they're going to. It proves to the fans that they're looking to the future.
Big time manager.
Yeah, and they're going to take the club forward again.
I think he'll get it because he wants it.
Yeah.
Who?
Moyes.
If he wants it.
Before you jump in, Ruffy, think about the fact that you're sitting down next to him in an interview in the last 2 months.
Yeah, I agree with you on him. Everything he said ticked all the boxes, but as you've kept saying all the way through this show, it's not up to him, it's the people up the stairs.
Yeah,
so people up the stairs have to show the same ambition as what he's shown. And to do that, they need to get the piece of paper that they've got and rip it to shreds and start
again. That does show ambition. If they appoint him, it does show ambition, doesn't it?
Yeah, that's what happened after John Barnes.
That means they've changed their mind. If they appoint him, that means they've ripped it up and they're going to go with his format rather than their format.
That's what it says at the beginning of the programme. That's what happened after John Barnes. They were going so far back, they had to just change it all. They got Martin O'Neill in, gave him 20 million, go and spend, and spent more than that, obviously, but it was just a turning point.
Okay, I'm going to go back to Fir Park because I think Craig Turnbull is there, and great credit to Mark McGee for a 1-0 win against Heart of Midlothian. What were his comments after the game, Craig?
Delighted with the way his side played. He said in this week that they'd had a really good intensity in training and they trained the way they played today. He said Lionel Ainsworth was on fire in training, so was unsurprised at his performance today. Of course, getting his third goal of the season. It has been a disappointing and frustrating season for Ainsworth, but McGee believes that the next 5 games can really build up his confidence and allow him to kick on for next season.
And Robbie Nielsen will not be happy because I know Hearts want to finish the season strongly. What was his take on the defeat?
Yeah, he said he didn't deserve anything out of the game at all today, Peter. Very frank in his assessment. They were poor and he just didn't turn up today to try and get the 3 points required to try and put the pressure on Aberdeen. And of course, you know, despite the fact that it won't make too much difference between second and third, it will in terms of the financial incentive. So they're still making it difficult for themselves in the final few games to try and catch Aberdeen. There's now 4 games left and the gap is 8 points, but Nielsen still believes that his side can close that gap and catch the Dons.
Okay, thanks to Craig Turnbull for bringing us the thoughts of both managers. Is it a forlorn hope now, Ruffy? Hearts catching Aberdeen?
Yeah, I think so. Obviously, a disappointing result for Aberdeen last night as well. They've still got to play each other, which makes it an intriguing game, you know. And then who knows what might happen after that.
Yep. Okay. Alan Stubbs will be disappointed with 0-0, or will he put a positive spin on it? Let's hear from him now. He's with Derek Clark.
So Alan, obviously the highs of last week and midweek against Rangers, a bit disappointing not to take 3 points here.
Yeah, but, you know, we're obviously disappointed, you know, but it was the pitch. I've got to say it wasn't easy to play on. You know, it was difficult for us to get the ball down and play. It suited Morton with the way they wanted to get the ball forward early, but. You know, Morton, they're not an easy team to beat. You've seen from their results here this season, they've been in games against all the, like you'd say, the top 3 or 4. They've given them a game, and you know, if our goal, Jason's disallowed goal, goes in or is awarded rightly for onside, then it's a different game. You know, and unfortunately, you know, we didn't get an awful lot off the officials today, so. You know, we just have to push ourselves down and move on again.
Yeah, I've seen Stephen Finn had a word for you during the game, so you're not too happy with one of the 2 decisions that went against your side?
No, well, I think, you know, he booked Anthony Stokes and it shouldn't have even got to that because it was a foul on him beforehand. And the fact that he doesn't give the foul, you know, and then he tries to say that Stokes elbowed the boy. And, you know, I think it was obvious for everybody in the ground, and he never did. If he was elbowed him, he should have been off the pitch. So, you know, I was a bit baffled by a lot of decisions today, but, you know, it's not been the first Saturday I've been there.
And obviously Falkirk going to Wraith kicking off just a couple of minutes, so that's a tough place to go. You found out a couple of
Yeah, you know, we'll just have to wait and see what that result is. You know, it'll determine one way or the other. You know, believe it or not, this could turn out to be a good point. You know, in the grand scheme of things, it could be a good point. I would have liked it to have been 3. You know, but Wraith's not an easy place to go. It'll probably be worse than this, as in the pitch. It's not you know, ideal, and it'll be a tough game for either team.
Magic.
All right, cheers, thank you.
Okay, Alan Stubbs. There was a wee positive spin on that. We can give him that because Wraith Rovers are leading by a goal to 0, Micah.
Yeah, of course they are. I love listening to Stubbs. He sounded as though he was just ready to fall asleep. He was giving it, when he started talking about referee, it was as if he was being very careful picking his words.
Yeah, it's called a fine at the SFA. You wait and then you sit in front of a big table and then you get a fine.
You can hear the brain working and all that. He's no one to say anything, and it's great to do that. But yeah, but it's a bad result for him. No matter what way you put a spin on it, that's a bad result for him. After beating Rangers, you want to go there. You can say all you want about the pitch. You can say all you want about everything else, but the referee, you can blame who you want, but after beating Rangers, you've got to go and beat Morton.
Yep. Okay, let's go back to Firhill. I think Paul Hartley had a quick pair of shoes on, Laura. He caught you out at the end of this game.
Yeah, he did. He was in and out in record time in the press room speaking to the boys after the game. I did read his quotes over the shoulder of somebody's laptop though as they were typing them up for their piece. So I do know what he said. I can tell you he was very happy with his side's result. He called it a terrific performance. He also talked up Kane Hemmings as well about how valuable he has been for this season. Of course, Kane scoring his 24th and 25th goals of the season today. Alan Archibald, meanwhile, he felt his side deserved something from the game, at least based on their second half performance. So he was slightly dejected after the full-time whistle. He says everyone in the bottom six does still have something to play for, so they're still going for 7th place. He just doesn't want their season to now peter out. And he also had some praise for his striker as well, who also got in the goals on the score sheet this afternoon. Chris Doolan getting his 85th goal for Partick Thistle this afternoon, and of course setting that club record as well in the process. So yep, that was the reaction this afternoon from the two managers. No players to speak to though this afternoon.
Okay, thanks very much to Laura there. Just a fabulous detective. She's probably just sneaked up behind somebody who's been typing away and then had a wee look at the quotes and away you go.
Stole his quotes.
Yeah, absolutely. All the best. Thanks for coming and away you go. That's the type of reporter we need. If they can't get there, by hook or by crook, they get the quotes in the end. From a Partick Thistle perspective, I think we do have to mention a boy that I've got a lot of time for, Chris Doolan, because time and time again people are saying, oh, Thistle need another goal scorer, but because of the financial constraints, this boy for 6 consecutive seasons has managed to get a minimum of 10 goals.
Yeah, and he's another player, you know, that we keep talking, or Frank keeps talking about one player up front. He's another player who does that role for Partick Thistle very admirably, and he does it every time. You know, he works his socks off, doesn't make 90 minutes every week, but certainly, you know, if there's a ball bouncing about the 18-yard line, he's going to be there or thereabouts, and it'd be great if they could play another formation with 2 strikers, because it would take the burden off them, but that's the way they play.
Yep, and there's a derby coming up next for Dundee. Paul Hartley clearly happy with the result going into that derby. It could be a derby where they relegate their great rivals, Gordon.
Yeah, it could be. I mean, Dundee United, obviously the game tomorrow, they've got a tough one at home to Hamilton, and Ruffy said if they were to lose tomorrow, then the chances of them staying up are practically gone at that stage. I think they're already gone, but there's no doubt about it. Dundee, I know everybody loves the Dundee derby, and Dundee would probably like coming Dundee United there, but if they can relegate them and the chances there, their fans will want them to do it.
Do you think they'll enjoy that?
No, I don't know, they might.
Yeah, of course, Marka, that's what it's all about. It's a chance to annoy your friends that you go to work with.
See in a couple of years.
Yeah, and it's not as if anybody will forget about it. I think there's still a bit of edge between St Johnstone and Dundee fans for something that happened in the 60s.
Oh yeah, I mean that never goes away, some of these things. You're absolutely right. So there is a chance, as I say, that if it goes to next week, that could be the game that does put Dundee United down. So that will be built up, and I can imagine that there'll be a little bit the police and everything would need to be involved in that, Peter, if that became the situation, because they'll want to be keeping an eye on the crowd just to make sure they don't get any trouble because of it, because there's liable to be a fair bit of rivalry there, isn't there?
On the financial side, they won't want them to go down.
No.
You know, I think the owners of the club would want them to still be there for the derby games next year. But I mean, obviously, supporters and players don't think that way. No. But
the thing is, it's not going to be Dundee that put Dundee United down.
That's a full season.
It's a full season.
Yeah, absolutely. Okay, you can give us your thoughts at Peter and Ruffy on Twitter, facebook.com/Peter and Ruffy. It's still Wraith Rovers 1, Falkirk 0. And I think Alan Stubbs was absolutely right, Ruffy, when he mentioned the state of the pitch at Starks Park. It's very patchy.
Yeah, and they actually criticised Morton's Park as well. I was led to believe that Morton's Park was one of the better parts in that championship.
Yeah, absolutely.
But it was also right in saying, Peter, that it could turn out to be a point gained. He's right in that respect too, because they're away at Morton.
Depends,
but it could be a gained point, because if Falkirk were to lose today, they are a point nearer them, and they've got a game in hand then to get above them. So as he said, it does depend what happens now. They've thrown away 2 points, but it could be a point gained.
Yep, Joel Thomas scoring the only goal. We're going to go back over all the scores in all 4 divisions. The key one was at Ibrox, the early kick-off. Rangers 1, Alloa 1. Rangers players, the fans and all the staff knew that the championship trophy was going to be handed over to the captain, Lee Wallace, and then the party celebrations would indeed begin. But again, as Lee Wallace pointed out, it wouldn't be any drink that would be taken, champagne or anything like that. It's all about energy drinks and making sure they get ready for the Scottish Cup final on the horizon as well. There's still a job to do for Mark Warburton. Welcome back to Peter and Ruffy's Saturday Football Show on a day when Rangers clinched the championship. I'm going to relay a story to you that I think is just a class act from Mark Warburton, who has given his league winners medal to a Rangers fan, a little boy called Lee Walsh. We've actually, I think, all come across his name over the last few months. Who suffers from non-Hodgkin's lymphoma, and I think it was just a great touch by Mark Warburton. He's given him his league championship medal that was handed out today. So listen, that boy will remember that forever and a day. It's great.
That's nice, a nice gesture, isn't it?
Yeah,
Brilliant.
brilliant
It's
touch.
absolutely great, because it's a special day for Mark as well, and he's been out his way and done that. That's a bit of humanity.
Yeah,
It's nice.
absolutely. Good touch by the Rangers manager, and something that I think lots of Rangers fans will appreciate. Of course, medals at the best of time. you hold them close to your heart, Ruffy. Some people actually, I think I remember a great story about Bobby Lennox had his European Cup medal. Some people wear them round their neck. And he was on holiday, and there was a woman who was talking to his wife, mentioning the fact that it was such a unique medal to have, and the other lady said, "Yes, I have 3." It was Rudy Kroll's wife. Nothing worse than running into someone who has 3 European Cup winners' medals. I wonder, can you remember the name of the?
I'll just tell you.
He just makes it up, doesn't he? Honestly, he doesn't listen to the story. Can you remember the name of the player with who has a European Cup winning medal with, I think, 3 different clubs? Do you know who it is?
3 different clubs?
Yeah. A European Cup, the Champions League medal, with 3 different clubs. There's a good one. That caught you out. It came into my head there when I was thinking about people who've got...
Not Michael Laudrup, no.
No, when I was thinking about Fernando Torres and everything that he's won. But there's one particular player who has won it with 3 different clubs.
Right.
Do you want me to give you the clubs then, just to help you along?
Yeah.
He's a striker.
Sorry?
Is he a striker?
No, he's a
Davids.
midfielder. No, it's not Edgar Davids. And try not to listen to the producer whispering. He is guessing you.
You could hear it as well.
No, it's Clarence Seedorf.
Seedorf, yes.
Yeah.
That's right.
Yeah.
I knew. I knew it was somebody who was at Ajax. When Davids came up there, I thought it was him maybe, because I knew it was an Ajax player that had done it.
Yes.
And it was Clarence Seedorf.
Do you know the 3 clubs he did it with?
Milan was one of them, I think. And
Milan and Ajax. And the other one, it's a sneaky one. You want me to tell you?
Yes.
I might as well tell you. Real Madrid.
Right.
Okay. I love a wee bit of football trivia before we finish. Let's have a look at the scores in the Premiership today. There's only 2 matches on, 3 matches tomorrow, which we'll look at right now. But St Johnstone 3, Aberdeen 0. Fabulous performance by Tommy Wright's men last night. Kills off any hope of Aberdeen, albeit it was a slim one of catching Celtic. Motherwell 1, Hearts 0. Partick Thistle 1, Dundee 2. And there are the 3 games tomorrow. Inverness against Kilmarnock, Celtic Ross County, and Dundee United Hamilton into the Championship. The trophy now in the trophy room at Ibrox. Rangers 1, Alloa 1, the early kick-off today. Dumbarton 2, St Mirren 1, Morton 0, Hibernian 0, Queen of the South 3, Livingston 1, and its latest score, Wraith Rovers 1, Falkirk 0. In League 1 in Scotland, Airdrieonians 3, Dunfermline 0, Albion Rovers 3, Forfar 2, Brecon City 1, Stranraer 0, Cowdenbeath 1, Stenhousemuir 3, and Peterhead 0, Ayr United 4. Scottish League Division 2, it's Arbroath 0, Montrose 0, Berwick Rangers 2, East Fife 0, East Stirlingshire 0, Elgin City 3, Queen's Park 2, Clyde 1, and Stirling Albion 2, and an Athletic 1. And in the Barclays Premier League, there was an early kick-off. Manchester City 4, Stoke City 0, Aston Villa 2, Southampton 4, Bournemouth 1, Chelsea 4, and it was Liverpool 2, Newcastle United 2, and Liverpool were 2-0 up in that match. So that's a great fight back. Whether it's enough, Macca, to somehow give Newcastle hope, only time will tell.
Depends on results tomorrow. Sunderland are playing tomorrow.
Yeah.
It's a big one for them to go, but I don't know whether they can go to the Arsenal.
Sunderland have got the game in hand now, you're right. They've got the level points, Sunderland, Newcastle, so that was a big result. And if Arsenal were to beat Sunderland tomorrow, Newcastle are up there level with them.
Yeah, can I tell you that Everton 0 and Manchester United 1 is the latest from that FA Cup match. Also, let's have a look at the Premiership table in Scotland to see how it all is looking. And I think after that result last night, Ruffy, Aberdeen are going to have to just make sure they finish off in second place now. The league title is out with their grasp.
Yeah, I would think the majority of the season have been great. They've been great that they've hung on to Celtic, but I'm sure Derek McGuinness will be going to the board and want to improve. He'll want maybe a bigger budget. He'll want possibly more players to come in and maybe release a few. But he'll see that at one point of the season they were so close. If they'd just got their act together. They might have given Celtic a fright, but it wasn't to be. But that'll be something to build on for them.
Dundee United at the other end of the table are taking on Hamilton tomorrow at home. Gordon Smith, no point in asking Ruffy, because he all season, in fact in the last 4 or 5 weeks, suggested that Dundee United could go on an amazing unbeaten run. Can they win 5 games out of 5?
I don't think there's any chance they're going to do that. No, I don't think so. But tomorrow will be a tough one. Depends what Hamilton turn up. Hamilton are a team that at times you see them, they're excellent to watch. At other times, you know, they don't perform that way. But I think it'll be a tough game. I wouldn't be surprised if Hamilton were to win that game.
Yeah, OK, let's have a look at the championship table, Macca. And the table doesn't lie. Rangers are the champions, but Falkirk, Hibs and Wraith Rovers, all interesting now in how many games they're going to be playing in the playoffs.
Well, there's a few. It depends on how many games they've got. Wraith Rovers are definitely fourth. They can't. They can't be.
You can see how it's 2 different leagues there, Peter. Look at the points. Look at points and goal difference. The top 4 teams are on a different level from the rest, aren't they?
Yeah.
And you see it. You know, between points and goal difference.
If you were going to pick one, Macca, who would it be?
To go up and play through the playoffs?
Yeah.
Well, you'd like to think Hibs.
You would like to think. We might not like to think that. We're just asking.
I would like to think Hibs would go up. After the season, it'd be good if they can come back up.
OK. Hibs have got Dumbarton and Queen of the South in their 2 remaining fixtures. Let's go to League One and see the table there, Ruffy, where suddenly it becomes much tighter. Dunfermline are the champions, but Ayr United, Peterhead, who've slipped back drastically, and Stranraer in there. Airdrieonians and Albion Rovers will still not feel out of it, Ruffy.
No, these 3 will still fancy their chances. That was a good result for Albion Rovers today. But again, you know, I even when the playoff comes, I don't think there's any of them are confident of beating each other, because they're just not consistent enough.
When they back Peterhead anyway, that's for sure.
yeah, absolutely. Well,
not the form they're in just now.
When we looked at it this afternoon, we thought we were going to, and quite a number of people that we've met this week were saying, you know, surely you'll get one set of predictions right this season, but we've just blown it again because someone decided to go for Peterhead home win against Ayr United, and it ended up a 4-0 hammering for Jim McInally's side. Really close until the referee blew the whistle to start the game. And then that's where, look at Robbie, he is raging. Look at you.
Can't believe
it. We could have had a good night out tonight. You've ruined it for everybody.
It was a bumper pair.
It was a cracker. But then again, everything in moderation. We always say that to you. What about League Two? Marcus, stop interrupting. League Two. Have a look at that. It's East Fife, Queen's Park, Elgin, Clyde, Annan. It couldn't get any closer there, Gordon Smith.
No, that's a different league altogether. I mean, you can even see there by the number of teams that are in positive goal difference. There's 6 out of 10, so there's no other division has got that. And look at how close the points are, even down there. So there's a real fight on, definitely, for that 4th spot. There's no doubt about that, because the league keeps changing all the time. With both Clyde, Annan losing today, East Fife losing as well. I think they lost to Berwick as well. So the teams, there's no consistency there either. It's very hard to predict the games in that league, Peter.
Yeah, absolutely. Thanks to David Cunningham, who sent us a tweet and said David Moyes will fancy a crack at the Celtic job, especially on the basis that when we had a chat with him, he mentioned that he wanted to win things, and he wanted the chance to play Champions League football as well and pit his wits against some of the cream of Europe. Well, the calls already have been made. You can give us your thoughts throughout the week on Peter and Ruffy's football show, Monday to Friday. We're on at 7 o'clock. We'll be talking about it. This week could be a big week for the speculation. It'll gather pace, Macca, like nothing on earth.
It'll gather a lot of pace. I mean, there'll be a few more names probably flung into the hat. But we were talking earlier about how Aberdeen, I thought this was a chance for Aberdeen to win the league this year. I don't think they've got any chance. I don't think any team's got any chance now with Rangers back up. And Celtic will have to kick on.
Yep.
So I think anyone that had a chance in the last 3 years, I think it's just gone.
Yeah.
What crowd do you expect tomorrow, Ruffy? Celtic against Ross County, briefly.
30,000.
Yeah, well, that's brief. Gordon?
Exactly.
I'd say between 25 and 30.
Yeah, Macca?
Yeah, 30.
And do you think that message is why they need to respond with somebody big?
Yeah, I think so.
Okay, thanks to Macca. Most of us will be going home to a lovely house tonight, just warm with couches, lovely fires, and maybe just have a wee bite to eat. Poor old Macca will be sitting in an empty house with no furniture, phoning Ruffy, Gordon Smith and myself to see if he can come round to our house. And after today's display, I think we've had enough of Macca over 4 hours. I hope you've enjoyed some of his chat. He's top drawer, as has Gordon Smith and Alan Ruff. Join us on Monday if you can, 7 o'clock, STV Edinburgh and STV Glasgow. It's been a delight over the 4 hours from everyone here on the Saturday Football Show. Thanks for watching. Good night.